Good morning. I now call the February 5th, 2026 Administrative Briefing and Work Session of the Marion County School Board to order at 9 a.m. Please silence your electronic devices to avoid disturbing others. Mirroring and modeling how our students begin each day, I ask that you please pause with us for a moment of silence. Please join me. I will now read our board commitment statement. We are the Marion County School District Leadership Team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success. I would like to ask the school board attorney to explain the rules for this public workshop. Good morning, Attorney Powers.
Good morning, and thank you. This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meetings and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form located in the lobby and hand it to the board clerk. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the board clerk will call the speaker's name in the order received. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout this meeting. Finally, speakers must be very careful not to violate the privacy rights of others, especially students and their family members, by mentioning their names or other identifying information. Thank you for your attention to these important rules.
Thank you, Attorney Powers, and I do want to welcome Ms. Terry Brown to the stage. She is going to be helping Attorney Powers today as we go through the superintendent contract. So good morning, Ms. Brown. Ms. Martinez-Young, can you please provide the proof of publication for today's meeting?
The notice for the February 5th, 2026 work session was published in the Ocala Gazette on January 23rd, 2026. Proof of publication has been attached to board docs under proof of publication.
Wonderful. Well, good morning, everyone. For your awareness, we do have a statewide tornado drill at 10 a.m. I have an alarm set for 9:59 to remind us, so when it goes off, we're going to go into a brief recess then so that we can do the tornado drill efficiently. I want to welcome Dr. Brewer for her administrative briefing for this work session.
Good morning. I have quite a few things I want to share with you today, but first I want to just comment on our wonderful Public Education Foundation Gala that took place Saturday evening. I know all of you probably will have that in your comments, but it was just simply beautiful. And then this morning, we had an additional surprise at Hillcrest School. We had Kate and Ryan Gray with Mackenzie's Moment surprise the Rookie Teacher of the Year, Miss Stephanie Stevens, with a $5,000 check. And so they were incredibly moved by her message and their life story, and so they wanted to contribute. So that was a wonderful surprise to start our day at Hillcrest. I want to let you know that the school choice decisions have been calculated. Friday was our deadline. We had 4,207 applications submitted by 2,364 students. We are still drilling down the data to provide you with more information about the rankings and their first choices, but I wanted to give you that number and just remind you that each student could apply for up to 3 schools, and they rank their applications. So when I have additional information for you, I will share that with you. Do want to let you know, as I shared in an email, to address concerns about the rezoning and open enrollment at Bellevue High School. The school choice team added 30 seats for the Cambridge ACE program and 10 additional seats for the robotics, automation, and design, commonly called RAD, at Bellevue. We also have our budget briefings, individual board briefings taking place tomorrow, and that's going to be led by our finance team by Mr. Rios Welsh. And that will just provide you a forecast to the district's financial outlook. But we also have a work session scheduled to cover this topic on April the 16th. And so that will be an important work session. We also have a booster stadium update provided to you that will take place during a work session on March the 5th. And we have 3 other dates that I want to go ahead and share with you today. We have our attendance boundary committee meetings. The attendance boundary committee recommendations provided to you at our last meeting, and now we have our community meetings, which is the next portion of that step, and that will take place from 6 to 7 at Reddick Elementary on February the 18th, at Anthony Elementary on February the 26th, and Spar Elementary on March the 4th. Of course, I will send calendar invites to you all for those meetings. And last but not least, we need a board member to represent the board for our Start and Stop Bell Time Committee. We did not add that as one of your options during the reorganization meeting, so I need someone to commit to that. Then the meeting will take place on February the 17th at 4 p.m.
I don't mind doing it. I'm not on really any committees at this point, I don't think, really overall, so I don't mind doing it.
I don't mind doing
Do you
it.
know when's it gonna meet?
Yeah, February 17th at 4 p.m.
Sorry, you said
No,
that.
that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think any one of us would be willing to serve potentially, so.
I should be able to do it. That's
Okay.
fine, as long as that's fine with you guys. I know the code of conduct started too, so I wanted to make sure that Reverend Cummings was aware, because I believe, Reverend Cummings, you stayed on the code of conduct committee, correct? Or did,
I'm on the code of conduct.
okay, I wanted to make sure, because I know that that conversation is coming back up as we get into it. Okay.
So, yeah, Ms. Thrower's on that code of conduct. And who is, for my awareness, who is on the student progression plan? Ms. Conrad again? Okay. Because those are 2 that are starting
I
right.
think Ms. Martinez-Young has the document.
Okay.
So, and she can send it to all of us just for awareness with the update.
Okay. I'll add you to the calendar invite, Dr. James, for the Bell Start Committee.
Yes, the Code of Student Conduct committee's been meeting very
Right.
regularly, and we're moving right along.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Awesome.
Thank you, Ms. Thrower. Okay, those are all my comments.
Chair, I had a question specifically because just got another email this morning from a family that had chosen Bellevue Middle School for Cambridge, and their zoned school for high school is not Bellevue High School. Obviously, that continuation of what is happening, while I appreciate the 30 seats and then the 10 for RAD, I am interested, once we have the data drilled down, if the board would like to have additional conversation about it, for sure. As we've discussed just briefly about we haven't discussed it publicly, but we've discussed it offline, Dr. Brewer, when the board was presented with the zoning conversation a year ago, and we had a public hearing in April of 2025 about the zoning for South Marion High School, we were presented with what we believe to be the projected enrollments for each of those high schools. And all of the high schools, with the exception of Forest High School, were presented to us at under 90% or under in enrollment potentially. And so when we got the notification that something changed after Bellevue had their preview night, that we are now at 100% capacity at Bellevue High School. I believe that's an opportunity for the board to have additional conversation, because we helped set the zoning to ensure that all of our schools would not be at that level. And so I think it will wait until we see what the school choice applicants look like. But if we have, we're opening up 40 seats for for out of area students to go there. Many of them will be taken up by siblings and by children of staff members. So there's going to be some conversation about prioritization of who gets first dibs, I guess. But I am interested, if the rest of the board is, in having additional conversation about what we do about opening up more seats for those out of area students, specifically who've been on a pathway to continue their education at Bellevue High School.
Thank you, Dr. Cable. I agree. I think I want to see how it all shakes out. Dr. Bird, do you have a timeline for when Mr. Ayers will do the first round drop for school choice?
He's doing extra data analysis today.
So when would the board be able to get an understanding of the theoretical, how many students weren't able to be placed and would qualify by merit?
I'd like to give him the weekend to complete that, so if you don't mind, next week,
Yeah.
early next week.
Okay, if, we have a board meeting next Tuesday, so
Right,
we'll be
okay.
ahead of next Tuesday's board
Okay.
meeting, so if we need to have public discourse about it, we could next Tuesday. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Yep, thank you.
is that it? All right, well, Dr. Brewer is going to leave at this point because the items for today's agenda are related to board items. We are going to rotate the items and do the contract first, as Ms. Brown is here to help dictate for Mr. Jeremy Powers, our board attorney. The board has a variety of items, most if not all of which were not uploaded. Attorney Powers can expand on the reasoning behind that. But board, please make sure you have all of the items. I'm just going to go through them all just to make sure everyone has them. You should have a red line version of the contract. It's the thickest document. It also has comments in the margins. So that is something that Ms. Brown and Mr. Attorney Powers will reference. For your reference too, when we're looking at the document that is like 3 pages, and it kind of goes through all of the items, on the right column there, it's the 2-column document. The right column there dictates the part of the contract that it's speaking to, just to give you reference. There's also a comparable salary and benefits for some like-sized districts. There is the elected officials worksheet that comes from the Office of Economic and Demographic Research. And then there's just some extra annotations that Attorney Powers did in comparison to our former superintendent, Dr. Gullett's contract. So you should have 5 items for today's discussion. Attorney Powers is going to lead us, and my goal is, after each item, to capture, in addition to, I'm sure, Ms. Brown, but my goal is to capture, if we are not all in agreement, to capture everyone's opinion on the item so that we can revisit it at the end. So I'd like to go through each item. If we're not all in agreement, capture our yeses and nos or our opinions, and then we'll revisit those items that maybe we're not 100% in agreement with when we get to the end, just for the sake of progressing through and not getting stuck. Does that sound okay to everyone? Yes? All right, well, I turn it over to Attorney Powers, and after each item, I'll just make sure I annotate how everyone's feeling about it, okay? All right, thank you.
All right, that pretty much accurately summarizes what I was going to go over there, so.
Well, I didn't know he was going to go over it, but perfect.
Well, there we go. Ms. Brown will be here drafting our red lines in real time, and we'll submit those. If those red lines then, when we're all finished, are acceptable, then we'll proceed to place it on a board meeting agenda for approval of the contract. If they're not, then at that point, we'll receive counter red lines, so that the board can consider those items again. So this process may be a one and done, or it may be a back and forth process. It just depends upon, what the perceived reasonability of our approach is when we go into it. And I will also ask in advance for the board members' permission when we are done with the red line drafts, as is very common when there's a draft document from legal, there may be scriveners or non-substantive changes that need to be made. For example, there may be a section of statute that needs to be quoted, or there might be wording that is not of substance, but it is wording that needs to be fixed. So those would be items that I would not want to have to bring back to the board and go through again. So provided that I communicate those with the board chair, I'd like to have the freedom to edit those for substantive or non-substantive or scrivener's errors when we're done. So I'll ask the board for that latitude. Apart from that, we can proceed on into the contract. What you have in front of you has been described, but the most important touchstone document, and everything else sort of goes back to that, is that draft red line agreement that has been previously uploaded, I believe, but if not, we'll make sure that today's document goes on there. This is a generalized view of everything that would be requested within this contract. Each of the items are broken down then by the sections, and we previously went over what the sections are. That page that has the red writing on it and has 2 columns, this should be our working draft as we go through. This is going to be the touchstone that you go back to. As we're discussing each one, there's some notes located in the draft agreement on the right-hand column, so we'll go in order down here. We can skip around, but we want to pretty much maintain that order so that we can make sure that we've caught everything, captured each of these items. Do we have any questions before we begin?
Nope.
Okay. So, starting off with the very beginning, transition period was the first item on there. In my view, this does not need to be considered further, as the transition period was defined as the purpose of the agreement is transition between 2 different individuals. So, not 2 individuals here. This is 1 individual we're dealing with, so transition period is not needed. Employment terms effective.
Hold on, I'm sorry. After every item, I want us to seek agreement or not, so that there's no confusion about how we feel about each item. So regarding the scrap of transition period, is everyone in agreement with the recommendation there? I see a yes from Ms. Thrower, yes, Reverend Cummings? Okay, thank you.
The second section, as to employment terms, is the effective date and the term. So the effective date is going to be whenever we complete this, but the actual term, we discussed that it could be any term from a single year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, up to 5 years. Of course, an elected official is 4 years. Typically, ours in the past and many districts are at 3 years. The board had expressed some tendency to consider at least a 2-year agreement, and that is now something that is in your court to discuss and decide.
All right, we open it up to the board. Anyone want to start? Board Member Thrower.
Just to make sure that we're completely accurate, how many months has Dr. Brewer been with us as of?
Since April
28th.
2025.
Yeah, as of April, it will be a year.
As of April, it'll be a year. Okay, thank you.
April 29th, 2025, per her interim employment agreement.
So I just have a perspective I'd like to share, and honestly, when I was talking with Attorney Powers yesterday, I mathed wrong. My math wasn't mathing. So when I was elected in 2022 with Board Member Conrad, we came in and immediately were asked to renew the superintendent's contract, which you guys, essentially, we had to do an evaluation, and then we were into that renewal. And speaking for myself, I felt very uncomfortable with that task, being that I didn't have the proper understanding of what she did, how she did it, and it put me as a board member in a compromised position. And so I would not seek to do that for someone else if we can work around it personally. With that being said, a 2-year agreement or 4-year agreement at this point, an even agreement, yeared agreement, I think would be the agreement that would put an incoming board member, which we know will at least have one with Board Member Thrower's seat, in a positive position, because a 3-year agreement would mean that in 2.5 years from now, we're going to start talking about it. And 2.5 years from now will be right after, not my Reverend Cumming and Board Member Thrower's seat is done, but when the other 2 seats are open. And so essentially like in November, right after they're sworn in, they would have to start discussing the renewal. And I just feel like that puts them in a compromised position. So my recommendation would be an even yeared term to avoid the election cycle. That's just my recommendation based on how I lived the experience. Board Member Campbell.
Thank you. So that's exactly my reasoning for the 2-year agreement, because if we did a 2-year agreement, all of the conversation would be happening essentially in the beginning of 2028, and the new board members, or, if it doesn't necessarily have to be new board members sitting here in 2028, but whenever that happens, then essentially it would already be taken care of, and there'd be 2 full, complete years before the next board changeover that absolutely would be happening. So, anyway, so that, I think a 2-year agreement, because of the flux that we're in right now a bit with election season upon us, as well as term limits and what that looks like, I personally think a 2-year agreement makes the most sense.
And just for transparency, we're gonna start talking about that agreement in 18 months, because we have to backwards plan into it. So it's really more like 18 months from now, so it's gonna be the fall of 27 that we discuss, but the people who are elected in the fall of 26 will have been here for a year. So that's why I look at it that way.
Consider that again, though, at the end of that 2-year period, if you renew, then in order to make that a permanent process, it needs to then be another 2-year agreement or a 4-year agreement.
To avoid the election cycle, yes, but that's a decision a different board can make, because that's, I mean, we know at least one board member will not be here when we have those discussions in 2 years. Board Member Thrower.
Thank you, and for the reasons we've been discussing, and also that's why I wanted to confirm the amount of time that Dr. Brewer has been with us already, which, you know, as we continue to work through this process, is getting closer and closer to a year already. So essentially, if we go with the 2-year contract, it'll really be a 3-year contract that we've completed, you know, in my opinion. And the other pratfall I want to avoid, while there it is in our comment box, remember it only takes 3 board members to remove the superintendent at any time. To me, that's the nuclear option, and I believe that that is incredibly disruptive and negative to our whole school community, and that if we can avoid that at all costs, I would much rather see a scenario, for whatever reasons, you know, as the 2-year begins to wind up, that it is more of an amicable parting, that the contract language kind of sets it up to be. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, so I hear 2 years from Board Member, I see a 2 from Reverend Cummings as well. All right, did you have anything to add, Reverend Cummings?
No, I think I've already stated that I think a 2-year would be the better.
Okay,
It lines up where we need to be.
and Board Member Conrad? All right, so I hear all 5 of us in agreement on a 2-year term for the initial contract. Yes,
The only other thing to discuss there, because her interim agreement, I understand that it would have been, we had a transition built in there if there was a different person. Her interim agreement concludes on April 29th. I think, you know, certainly we may get this done beforehand, but if we, for a clean transition from one agreement to the next, if her start date as the permanent superintendent was April 28th, we have a board meeting that evening, and we could just make it clean, and it goes literally from one agreement to the next. And so she completes the amount of money that she was receiving on this contract, and she gets the new amount starting the next day.
I'm in agreement.
That's fine with me.
Seems very smooth.
okay. My only hesitation is I feel like the lift has been pretty heavy, and especially when Dr. Gullett was still here and Dr. Brewer was doing a lot during that transition. Rightfully so, that's what we asked of her. But I think it would be appropriate for her to start getting compensated accordingly for the job that she's doing. And waiting, if we can get this done, let's presume it all goes well today, sometime in March, I mean, that is a month difference.
So if we can have open discussion
Yeah.
for just a moment, that was actually something I wrote at the top of my notes here, because Article 8 of her existing agreement does reference an evaluation. So we haven't talked at all about if there would be an evaluation on the interim superintendent. Perhaps it's just because we're hiring her, so that makes the evaluation null and void, but it was a part of the agreement. And so that's where we essentially could offer an evaluation, and if we built in some kind of mechanism where we could offer a bonus or something like that. We don't really have that currently spelled out, but I think that's something that we could discuss in this next 2-month period if we wanted to do that. But I still think that it's cleaner if we go from one agreement to the next. Completely respect the thought of ensuring that she does get compensated, but she was gonna get compensated for what she's doing at the amount that we agreed to, so.
Correct. All right, well, do I hear a majority of the board okay with the April 28th board meeting? Yes, Ms.?
if you want to just address them directly. Okay.
That's fine. 1 second, so they can have counsel.
And this is why you have a paralegal and an attorney, so they can consult.
Yeah, it's just that the first agreement, as soon as it goes to the board, the first agreement dies. I mean, as soon as, and that means at that point, it has to be an immediate pickup of the second agreements.
I think what I hear Dr. Campbell saying is she would like for the new
That to
contract to
occur
make
on
it on
April
April 28th, which we already have a board meeting for. And so then the seamless transition would occur because the contract on that night would then move into the new date.
You just move.
So there wouldn't be any overlap.
And I do believe that any attempt, any other compensation terms or anything else like that, that's gonna be something that, I'd reach out to, Ms.
Yeah.
Morant
Yeah.
and discuss with her, but,
It's outside of the contract.
that's
we have
outside of the
established.
contract, and it's something
Right.
completely separate that I'm gonna have to
Okay.
try to work.
Well, what I hear is the majority of the board in agreement on an April 28th contract date. Is that correct? Yes? Okay.
Okay.
Not 8/28, 4/28.
Next, compensation and benefits, specifically as to salary. Now, one of the documents that I gave you is just the elected officials' salary. Currently, the amount that, you have that table 3 from the Office of Economic and Demographic Research, essentially showing that an elected superintendent in Marion right now would be allotted $217,448. We've also discussed the fact that the amount that can be spent must be $225,000 or less because of, that's all we can use for state funds. However, districts can spend more. The more comes out of our general fund. I want the board to consider also that any amount that you set very rapidly with just the annual COLA and items like that are going to be probably a 10%, 5% or more increase. So you're very likely, if you set it at $210,000, to hit close to your limit within that first year, and then everything beyond that is going to come from general funds, which is certainly okay. You have the ability to do that. Certain districts, especially larger districts with, who are trying to attract people, they have much higher amounts that they pay overall. We've talked about this a little bit in our previous meeting, so the board is unrestricted in what the board can choose here, but that's the opportunity for board discussion to make those decisions as to what is appropriate.
All right, thank you, Attorney Powers. Does anyone want to start with a recommendation on the compensation? I don't mind. I think 215 is a great place to start. It's essentially right where the elected salary is. And then obviously acknowledging that there will be salary increases annually based on the administrative raises we offer, which are not amazing, but they do exist. In addition to the certification and other benefits that we'll get into later, that's where I would offer we start. Board Member Campbell.
Sure, so my starting point was actually a little different. I was thinking about a 205 start with, I liked the Lake approach where they had 2 opportunities for additional salary increases, or I guess bonuses. So if we started at the 205 and we had 2 $10,000 opportunities, that would get us to the 225. The other thing that we've already discussed a bit, elected superintendents also have a special qualification salary that they can get. I think additional, there's some kind of something that happens annually. I remember when I was serving as chair and Miss Boston Ellis was in the CFO role, she came to me and asked about, well, electeds are getting this. And so I noticed that was also built into the Lake contract, like there's some kind of built-in extra that goes to elected superintendents. I don't know if it's because of the certifications they receive or some kind of arrangement like that. So I saw that also built into Lakes a bit. I think that's open for conversation. I do like the idea, though, of having built-in job performance bonus as well as student performance bonus. And if we can start low enough that both of those bonuses would be able to still stay within that 225 threshold. Also understanding that if we have it built in that the superintendent does get those 2 to 3% increases we traditionally give to all administrators. I mean, 3% of $200,000 quickly gets, that's, $6,000. So it's like it quickly adds up when you start getting those year over year. So we're going to cost ourselves out of that 225 for sure. There's going to be some money that's going to have to hit the general fund. I just would prefer it not hitting it in our first year if we could help it.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think Dr. Gullett started, I think, at 210 is what our document says. So that's, essentially with inflation from 5 years ago, 215 is probably below where we started Dr. Gullett. So that's just kind of my perspective on it. But I would like to see I would love to see if we get an A school district. I think that would be tremendous to have some level of a bonus if we get an A district, personally. But I think let's stay focused on salary and then we can talk about benefits. So any other board member have thoughts on, we have a 205 and a 215 on the table.
My thought was definitely below the threshold of where we were at on the elected superintendent. I was in the mindset of the 205 to 210 range.
Okay.
So I think I said that before.
Board member Thrower?
I understand how challenging being a superintendent is these days. And I temper that with the reality that all 5 of us sitting up here know the challenges that we're going to be facing moving forward with our budget, just like we've been doing. The COVID funds are gone, ESSER's run out. Anything we can do to avoid touching general funds until we have to. Someone might say, well, that's only $6,000 and, a budget of almost $1 billion, that's a blip on the radar. Well, we get requests for a lot of blip on the radar and it all adds up. So in respect to Dr. Brewer, I want to make it very clear that my support of the 205 is related to nothing more than the reality of our budget forecasting and also building in room, because I love the idea of rewarding performance, and the metrics that we have to live by make it pretty easy to do that. It's and very definitive. So that's where I am with this. I'm with the 205, and then if we become an A district or however we decide to frame that, it's going to be a money saver.
Thank you. Let's let Board Member Conrad talk first, if that's okay. Just share her thought. Okay, Board Member Conrad?
Thank you, Chair. I was leaning into the 217, that an elected official, where that elected official would start. It sounds like the board is leaning a little more conservatively. 210 sounds good to me. I agree with the performance pay. I think that's a great idea on both pieces for Dr. Brewer. I think that's it.
Okay, Attorney Powers?
Yeah, on page 5 of the draft contract that you had there, you'll note that we had originally redlined out the performance pay incentive, and that was because there were questions about whether that was legally permissible, though some districts have it. Some districts do it, but we had some questions about it. We've done some research, it is permissible. So that might be something to consider in going here. It sounds like the board is leaning toward, the performance pay incentive, and that is something that could serve both purposes that the board is talking about. Specifically, $10,000 annual bonus, starting with or whatever annual bonus the board chooses, for achieving and maintaining an A rating, and a separate $2,500 annual bonus for achieving a district graduation rate, as set. So those are other items that can add through performance to that number that you set as a base.
Okay, and is that number dictated on our 3-page, 2-column handout?
It's let's see, page 2, and it's about halfway down between administrative authority and exclusive employment.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yes, because the one that's number 4 is actually just the standard
Right,
raise.
that's the standard.
So, but to stay focused, let's stay focused on base salary for now. So, I've heard 3 people offer 205, 3 people offer 210. Reverend Cummings, you've offered kind of one or the other, so we'll leave it to you. Where would you like?
205.
205, okay. So it looks like the majority of the board has landed with $205,000 as the base salary.
Okay, the next several on here are all going to be ones that with minor adjustment are the same that we do for other employees. That's performance salary adjustment. This is when non-represented folks get a certain percentage amount of their salary as a raise. Vacation and sick leave, medical benefits. We did make an adjustment just based on what's legal. I think it was from 150 to 140 days. Was that the adjustment we made?
We made it to match the 20 weeks.
Right, to match 20 weeks. Otherwise, all of those policies and the remainder of page 1 here are all ones that we already do for other,
Except short-term disability.
right, except for term life insurance policy, right?
So if it's possible, Attorney Powers, I would like to just go item by item, and just let's make sure everyone is in agreement, so there's no confusion about how anyone feels. So the performance salary adjustment board, that's just essentially saying if we give a 2.5% raise to administrators, that she's available to receive that. Is that something that the board feels comfortable with?
Yes.
Yes?
That's been the standard always.
Okay, so that's 5 board members in agreement. Vacation and sick leave, as per law and consistent with what other employees receive.
Yep.
Yes? Okay. Obviously, Dr. Brewer's bringing in a lot of time accrued since she's been with the district a long time. So, but we owe her that if she left the district at any point. So everyone's in agreement with this? All right, thank you. Medical benefits.
Same, yeah.
Everyone in agreement with medical benefits?
That it's the same as every other
Same as
employee.
that?
Yep, yes. So, is there anything, you have some notation here, Attorney Powers, is there anything you want to expand on medical benefits?
Nothing more.
Okay. We good then, board? It's essentially the 20-week severance pay period.
Right.
We're responsible for.
Right.
Right.
And other employees don't receive that as a paid option, but we
Correct.
have one.
Correct. But that would be part of the severance package.
Okay.
Just looking for everyone to be in agreement, we're good?
You're on which one?
We're on medical benefits.
Okay, yeah, it's the same.
I just want to make sure I feel confident with everyone's, yes.
And 20 weeks is the red
That's
line?
part of the liquidated damages agreement.
Okay.
Liquidated damages agreement just says, this is what we're offering overall. That's the maximum term we can offer it for, so that's what we put. I think the only red line we made was, I think the request was for 150 days, and 140 is what we have to do.
Okay. Yeah, 20 weeks is fine.
All right, I hear us all in agreement on that item. Short-term disability policy. It's not provided as a paid benefit to other employees, but is consistent with Dr. Gullett's agreement previously.
Personally, no. For me, no. We want to, for me, I want to see that the superintendent is treated just as and we know they're the top of the district. However, if this is not a benefit that we are affording to all of our other staff, and they're doing the heavy lift as well, I don't think that we should be doing this one.
something, if it's okay for me to point out as well. Again, this is leading back to our general fund. The short-term disability policy, should we continue to offer that, would come from non-state appropriated funds. So to me, that's translated to, it would come out of the general fund. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that continues to be a concern for me. And while our previous, and I will also offer first, appointed superintendent received that, as we continue to learn and grow through this process and also acknowledge our current reality in our budget challenges, as a school board member, I don't think it's wise to offer that at this time. It hurts my heart not to offer it because, again, I understand the challenges of being a superintendent in public education these days.
All right, thank you, Board
Madam
Member
Chair,
Thor.
and let me ask this question too. Short-term disability for other staff, they can get short-term disability, but it's at their expense, correct?
Correct.
Right.
I think it should
It's on the
be,
cafeteria plan.
yeah, I think it should be the same.
Right.
Okay. Board Member Conrad, do you have a thought on short-term disability?
My thoughts align with Ms. Thrower, really identically. It does hurt my heart, Ms. Thrower. You said it well. But I think it is wise for us to wait. It is also, I want to share, it's another reason I'm glad we agreed to revisit
Contract.
this in 2 years. It gives us the opportunity
Right.
to look at this again, with hopefully a budget that's not so tight. So,
All right. Board Member Campbell?
I agree. And like has already been said, that all employees have the opportunity to purchase at their own expense, short-term and long-term disability. And I mean, those are benefits that we have. And so rather than the district pay for that, I would like to afford her the opportunity to do that. Should she so choose? Wow, that was tough.
All right. Okay, so we are going to redline out the short-term disability policy. As I hear, we are in agreement on that. Moving on to term life insurance. Term life insurance is E on bottom of page 3.
I have a question on this, and we're not going to have the answer on it today. I'm just going to tell you. I'm curious to know if membership in the Florida Association of District School Superintendents gives any superintendents an automatic life insurance policy. You all probably are aware, but members of FSBA automatically get a $75,000 life insurance policy just because you're a member of FSBA. So I would be curious to know if there's an additional benefit maybe in FADS, which we won't have that answer today. I understand that. But while we're considering how much it costs us to do certain things, if just the benefit of being a member affords any kind of life insurance, that's a question I'd like answered. I just thought of it just now. I'm sorry I didn't think of it sooner.
Ms. Moran, is that something you could ask a few questions on? I believe Dr. Brewer may even have access to finding out that information. Okay, thank you. If she gets that information before we're done today, she'll bring it back to us. Board Member Thor.
I would also offer that this is similar to the short-term disability. If I'm not mistaken, and I know Ms. Morant will correct me if I'm wrong, but every employee gets term life insurance based on their salary, I think.
1.5 times salary.
There it is. So it's not like we're being cold and saying, no life insurance for you. I would offer that we provide the life insurance that's commensurate with,
Staff.
yeah.
And so for the board's
Salary.
awareness, the red note that I have there on the page 1 is just a reminder that we're gonna have to do the math as to what 1.5 times salary works out.
Well, and that's
Based
essentially
on-
what this is dictating. It's not an extra policy, but it's
Right.
dictating that the term life policy would follow what the board is already doing for all employees, and the amount is just high because the pay is high. So we will address the amount 205, if you don't mind doing, can we do the quick math? It's 1.5.
307.5.
307, and 307,500. So that would be the item, the number that's put in where 315 is for,
I'm sorry, 307 even.
307 even. That would, yes,
Not that much of a difference, really.
Right.
correct. So the amount in there would be 307,000, Is everyone in agreement with that?
And that is self-pay,
I'm sorry?
self-pay.
No,
That's employee pay.
that's,
No.
Well, that's what the district covers, but they can go higher if they want to.
right,
Correct.
Right. If they go higher, it's self-pay.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all good there then? Yes.
3075, okay.
All right, so we're all good, in agreement? All right, moving on to the retirement system. It's the top of page 4, number F. So this was inserted in the addendum at Dr. Gullett's agreement. However, senior management service class is the correct class for this position. So it's being presented as senior management class, which is the correct class for the superintendent. Does anyone have an opinion on changing what has been presented? Okay, I see a,
It is really, really high. I mean, it is the.
But that, yeah,
correct class.
statutorily, that's what
Right, it is what it
that'll
is.
do, so.
Right.
all right.
It is what it is.
So it is what it is. I hear 5, it is what it is. Is that correct?
It makes us feel a little better about the short-term disability in the life.
Right.
Additional retirement plan, which means removal. So let's go to G. Well, it's been redlined, so it's not really G anymore because then the contract has been redlined. So in Dr. Gullett's initial contract, it was at, there was increases the first contract, and then it was a fixed rate after that. There has been, Attorney Powers, go ahead.
So this is entirely optional, and it's at the expense of the district. Some districts do it, some do not. I have included a list there just of a few that have different contribution packages that they do for a separate additional, there's FRS, then there's FRS senior management class, and then this would be an additional annuity payment to go into retirement beyond that. So,
Yes, I think that sums it up pretty well. So board, how do we feel about an additional retirement plan? Board Member Thrower.
Again, I will say, in my opinion, it's not prudent for the board to agree to that right now.
Okay. Reverend Cummings?
If our staff are not afforded the same thing, I cannot say the superintendent getting something different.
Understood. Board Member Conrad? Agreed?
Agreed, no to
Okay.
the annuity.
Agreed. So that is 5, agreement, and striking the item. Cell phone and data plan, it's consistent with Dr. Gullett's agreement. It is item G on page 4. This is consistent with a lot of senior leadership in the district having a cell phone to be able to communicate for sunshine purposes. Is everyone in agreement?
Certainly seems to be put to good use.
Yes. All right, so we have 5 in agreement on the cell phone plan. Let's move on to the vehicle expense. Vehicle expense is at the bottom of page 4, it's item H. This is consistent with Dr. Gullett's agreement, and board, just for your note, you do have a worksheet from Attorney Powers, which indicates that the out-of-district, we have reimbursed from May to December $1,800, which is an average of $225 a month in travel expenses in county. Those are in-county travel expenses. So how do we feel about the $500 a month car allowance? Board Member Thrower?
I just think it makes sense because it's also a time saver, you know, not having to do the travel logs and all of that. It's just a flat allowance that when you calculate it out, we probably end up coming out ahead. I hate continuing to see and shall be paid from non-state appropriated funds. If we're required to have a superintendent, to me, there should be a little bigger allocation to cover some of these things. But that can be a advocacy conversation for another day.
Yes, and honestly, we could provide a vehicle to her as well, but I think depending on where the individual lives, depends on how functional having a vehicle, since we do not let people transport their vehicle home.
Right.
It makes it, for instance, if you live on the west side of town and you're going to Westport in the morning, you're not gonna drive to the closest school east to get a vehicle to then drive west. And if you're just going in one direction every day, it makes a little more sense, but the superintendent goes in every direction every day, so. I agree with you, Board Member Thrower. Anyone else have thoughts on the $500?
$500 is good.
Okay, Conrad?
We can. I really, after Dr. Gullett's contract, I really felt strongly, we were left with nothing. If we purchased a vehicle, we have something. If Dr. Brewer chose to leave, we would have something. But I had in-depth conversation with Attorney Powers, and he shared the numbers here. It's financially responsible for us to go this way.
All right, Dr. Campbell?
I agree with $500 a month. When you think of just in-county travel at almost $250 a month that we've already spent, that was without us going to Tallahassee, which is our trips that we're taking a lot more frequently during session. So it just so happened in the first 6 months, she didn't do that. So I think $500 a month would make sense for sure.
Yes, and in our budget briefings that we will have tomorrow, and then in the expanded conversation, I know that one of the things that Mr. Rios-Welsh is going to touch on is that across the entire district, travel expenses are one of our biggest things that need to get trimmed for going to conferences, hotels, fees, across all areas, and so that will be something that comes up in the spirit of talking about things that are inflated and uncomfortable, yes. So 500 vehicle expense, we're all in agreement. All right. Okay, I hear 500, all 5 of us. The bond, it's consistent with Dr. Gullett's agreement and required by law. So can we do an it is what it is for this?
It is what it is.
Did you skip one?
Nope, didn't skip anything.
Certification incentive?
I'm just going by the worksheet, so I apologize.
Beginning at page 2.
We're on page 2, number 4.
Okay, that's not on your worksheet.
Oh, okay, I think Eric and I are going by the contract.
Okay, that's fine, I can do that, I'm sorry. Certification incentive. Oh, this is our warning.
Campus. Attention Bridgeway Campus. We are conducting a tornado drill. Again, this is a drill. The National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch. Any student or staff that is outside, please move indoors to your assigned area at this time.
We'll take a recess at 9:53.
Instruction.
All right, we are going to come back from recess at 10:06 a.m. Thank you for allowing that 10-minute or so break so we could do our annual tornado drill. We were discussing bond, and I believe we said it is what it is, and so there was not much we could do about that. Board, we're all in agreement on that, right? Okay, so if we go to extension of contract actually goes back to the very beginning. Board, in item 1A, so on or before August 31st, 2028, during the term of the contract, the board can decide whether to extend. There's no red lines recommended by our attorney, so board, do you have any other recommendations?
Sorry, I was getting to the right spot, so,
It's on page 1. It's actually, it goes back to,
oh, sorry.
yes.
And I heard you say that, Chair. I just was.
Yep, so back to page 1 at the bottom, and then up to the top of page 2 is the renewal. So it's the extension of the contract.
I'm fine with a one-year renewal that automatically renews. However, I did make a note, and I'm not sure how we word this in there, is that the superintendent be required to notify the board 120 days prior to that renewal date, something.
Where are we seeing anything about a one-year renewal?
Okay.
with that?
It's on the top of page 2,
Yes.
item 1A.
Where the board will.
Oh, right, and if the board takes no action, right.
Right.
Um,
That's,
And this will make it incumbent on the board chair to make sure that we're following that date, that someone has their eyes on that date, because if it doesn't, then you end up with a one-year renewal position where you may not want it.
well, and that's where is there a way that we can put some wording in there that it actually puts the responsibility on the superintendent to notify the board? Because 120 days prior to potentially a March or April date is going to be shortly after a person just becomes chair. And that's going to be a really big lift if they're not even aware and not staying on top of it. So,
And also an election year.
yes.
Correct. So
Correct.
if we do a one-year extension, we're going to defeat the purpose
Right.
of being on a 2 or a 4-year cycle.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I would be of the opinion that we should just stay on top of the contract renewal and offer a renewal or not timely, which is what we have established we want to do so that we eliminate the election cycle.
It also gave, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It also gave the opportunity before, though, I think that if we do put some of the responsibility on the superintendent to come to us in Dr. Gullett's renewal year, and again, our only contract we've ever done before, so this is only the second time we've ever done an appointed superintendent contract, but she came to us at her renewal period and had changes she wanted to make. So that's where I think that somehow that notification needs to come from the superintendent more so than the board chair who might have just been put in that seat.
I don't disagree. So is there a way we could add some language about within 120 days of renewal, the superintendent shall present adjustment to terms if so desired, blah, 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 legal.
Yeah, communicate with the board chair, whatever. There needs to just be, or, in a public meeting, I don't even know, just something needs to,
I understand the assignment.
thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Thor, did you have anything to? Okay. Reverend Cummings?
Fine.
Okay, and Board Member Conrad, you're good? Okay, thank you.
Just thinking in 2023, I was chair, and this was a heavy lift to do the whole renewal and everything. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want that to be on somebody who might just be in that seat. So, welcome, thank you for.
All right, let's go to dismissal of discharge, which is bottom of page 5. Board, if you're following along in the contract, this is consistent with Dr. Gullett and its standard terms for cause. So these are all the standard termination clauses that we have historically had. I know we may have some things to discuss about supermajority and majority, but to stay focused on just dismissal or discharge. You're good with dismissal and discharge, Dr. Campbell?
Cause, yes.
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 Board Member Conrad?
I just had a question, which we don't have to we don't have to iron out now, but for M, in that section, how is that determined?
It would generally be by a DOA hearing, a Department Division of Administrative Hearings. They would be sort of the judge of that. But the language, if you're speaking of the language under dismissal and discharge, each of those lettered sections, those are the terms used in statute for misfeasance or malfeasance by a public official. And so those are, and also in administrative code, so.
Okay. You good, Board Member Conrad? All right, that's 5 in agreement on that section. Termination of contract is at the bottom of page 6 into the top of page 7. Board, the big thing to discuss here is the necessity for a supermajority or a majority vote. I'm personally a fan of maintaining our simple majority, which is the 3-2. Board Member Thurber, I see you leaning forward. Okay,
3-2.
Reverend Cummings.
I'm sorry, I'm 3-2. I feel 3-2 puts them in, 3-2 take them out, so.
Board Member Thurber?
The way that Board Member Cummings just presented it, very simple, 3-2 in, 3-2 out. I want to get behind that, but this is huge. When we take out a superintendent, I think the board needs to be as united as possible for that to occur. This won't affect me, obviously, because, again, community, I am not running again. I made sure that I said that when I was motivations change. And if you're thinking about taking out a superintendent, my advice would be to be pretty much united on that decision.
All right. Board Member Conrad or Campbell? Thoughts or perspectives?
I'm more in line with the supermajority. It sounds like kind of Ms. Throw was leaning that way too, just that, again, I'm not thinking about this board, but I'm thinking about future boards, which, you know, they have the opportunity to review the contract also. So anyway, I'm aligned with the supermajority.
All right. Dr. Campbell?
I'm aligned with supermajority just because we saw the wave of issues that occurred a couple of years ago shortly after a board flip might occur in an election cycle. And so it really benefits the district for stability purposes to keep it at supermajority as is in this agreement. Simple majority, I respect and appreciate the idea. It takes 3-2 to get in and 3-2 to get out, but we have plenty of ways to do it with cause. And when you're talking without cause, it becomes oftentimes more like a personality conflict. And I think that requires the super majority of the board to really make that change.
Reverend Cummings, oh, sorry, I just wanted to go back to Reverend Cummings if you had any further thoughts on it.
I'm still where I'm at.
Okay.
It doesn't change. I think every board member has a responsibility to do their due diligence when you're going to terminate someone, period, with cause, without cause. And so, me personally, if it's without cause, it's a personality. It's more of an issue between me and that person than more than that they are necessarily doing something. With cause, we already know how to get rid of them. But that other stuff, to me, that's when someone's either trying to dictate to the person or trying to lead the person from the board. I'm still at 3-2. I came in saying it was a 3-2, it's going to be 3-2.
Okay.
I respect what the board does.
Well, and it sounds like the majority of the board is interested in a supermajority. So we will note that, and we can come back to this if anyone wants to revisit it, but it does sound like the majority of the board are for a supermajority. Any further thoughts on that?
Sure, the only other thing that's in it, because currently the contract, as the red line version, does have supermajority written in it, but the red line part of it says the medical benefits through the 20-week severance period. So I think we've already discussed that. I just want to make sure that,
And it's required. I believe that's what we've already discussed.
okay.
Right.
Yep.
I was just looking at all the different red lines in that one section just to make sure we covered everything. The paragraph It's a good option. Okay, all right, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
And then looking at termination because of death, there's no changes there. It's the same as Dr. Gullit's. Any recommendations other than what we see presented, board?
No.
Are we good?
Pretty final.
Okay, no pun intended. You good, Reverend Cummings? On termination because of death? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay,
That's fine.
all right.
They already gone.
I heard from Dr. Campbell. Board Member Conrad, are you good on that section? Okay, sounds like we're all five in agreement on that section. Termination by superintendent for notice. So this is when the superintendent terminates the agreement, providing notice for 120 days. This is the same as Dr. Gould's agreement and what we did receive when she put in her resignation. Are there any thoughts on this, board? Board Member Thor.
I agree.
Okay.
Agree.
All right, sounds like we're five in agreement on the termination by superintendent. Going into medical examination, which it was removed from Dr. Gullit's agreement. And Terry, remind me where I'm gonna find medical examination, because it's not in order.
That was just a note.
Oh. Okay, so we are not gonna find medical examination within this agreement. Okay. Understood. So for the record, Ms. Brown shared that it had been in Dr. Gullit's, but it was removed and it is not in this agreement. Board, are you in agreement that a medical examination is not required for this contract? Do you,
Yes.
yes, we're all in agreement on that? Reverend Cummings? Okay, we're five yeses in with that. The mental capacity examination, all the way through memberships is the same as Dr. Gullit, so we're just gonna go one by one real quick, board, and just give me a head shake or a nod, but it's all incredibly similar language we've already experienced. Mental capacity examination, there are no changes from legal.
I mean, I actually put, like, why do we even need this here? That was my question about mental capability.
Maybe if they lost their mind. And we would seek to make sure they have in fact lost their mind.
Okay,
Prior
I'm gonna say, this is
board
from, this is
members that
historically,
Felt it was important.
okay.
Yes,
And I think it is, and I
historical context may,
agree with the supermajority in this one.
exactly,
yes.
Yeah.
that we needed.
All right,
Okay.
so we're five in agreement on keeping the mental capacity examination.
I think you should be mentally fit for the job.
Yes, and it's of course only required if 4 out of 5 board members think it is required.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
you don't have to go to the psychiatrist to get the job, you just might have to go while you've gotten the job.
Okay.
The superintendent's declaration or fit for duty. Are we all in agreement there? There are no
Yes.
changes from legal. I see a yes from Reverend Cummings. Board Member Conrad?
Yes,
Okay. Annual evaluation, terms as required by statute. This is initial evaluation on or before June 1st. To Dr. Campbell's point from earlier, it is a part of the interim contract. I know that we have all sought a desire to update the evaluation based on the new strategic plan. So my hope would be that we finish up the contract and then we use the strategic plan to frame out, adjust, change the evaluation tool, and then complete this first evaluation before June 1st, 2026.
that seems logical.
Is the strategic plan, will we have the strategic plan in place by that time?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
If for whatever reason we don't, then I would say we use the same tool we have now, which is and I could even offer, we use the same tool we have now because it's based on the strategic plan that's been in use all year. So I think we can hash that out and how we go about that.
So my question about this date, especially dependent on when the actual contract start date is. So I think that the evaluation period that we had built in under the previous superintendent contract was kind of in tandem with when her start date was, so it was kind of close. My question, and I wrote this in 2 different places, about an annual evaluation period is, I would see that evaluation would be best served when data is available
After school grade.
after school grade. And so
agree.
that's later than June, because especially if we do build in performance evaluation bonuses, then we need to be able to have all the data possible,
So how do we feel about changing the date to August 1st?
or even September 1st.
How about we say prior to the, within 30 days after the release of school grade? Why don't, because sometimes we know the state
Right.
is a
Right.
little delayed. So we would hate to put something in here that has a performance metric that then we can't follow through on. So why don't we just say, within a time, 60 days, whatever time frame of the release of district grades? Board Member Thur?
My suggestion would be to go for a longer period of time, 60 days versus 30 or 45, just to give us that cushion.
Yeah.
And so that we stay in compliance, and I'm in 100%, 1,000% agreement with waiting until school grades come
Okay.
out.
I agree.
So then how do we feel about 60 days following the release of school and district grades?
I like it.
Okay?
Graduation rate, when does that come?
Yeah, when does
'Cause
graduation?
that lags.
I know.
Well, grad rate isn't released until like December. I mean, we just received the grad rate official. But that grad rate bonus can come, if we were to
Okay.
do that, separate from the school grade bonus.
Sure. It could be a part of the evaluation that that this part. Sure, we write that
Right,
into the later
It's going to be
part.
NA at the time,
Right,
but it will be revisited when graduation
Yeah.
rate
right.
is released.
Okay, so then just to confirm, board, shall be initially evaluated on or before or within 60 days of the release of district and school grades. And then and then within 60 days of the release of district or school grades going forward. Is that, everyone good with that?
Yes.
Yes, I know it leaves the date ambiguous, but it still is challenging because the state can choose whenever they want to release that information. And if the evaluation is somewhat contingent on student performance, we have to see that.
Absolutely. And whether we can like it or not, we are kind of required to use the state metrics for our evaluation. Board Member Thor?
In the spirit of this conversation, and thank you for bringing it back around, because we began to talk a little about evaluation, then we moved on from it. So I feel like what I'm hearing is that Dr. Brewer's first evaluation will occur after the release of school grades and within 60 days of release of graduation rates. I would offer that the fact that we're discussing giving her a contract pretty much is its own evaluation. And if we were to evaluate her, it would only be fair to evaluate her on our current strategic plan, which she has worked under as a superintendent, as an employee for the last 4 years.
Yes, and honestly, I mean, I would make the offer that we just, that this is the evaluation us offering, and we just scrap doing an evaluation in April when we're gonna do one again probably in about August. That would just be my recommendation. I don't, well, we can just land on that now if everyone has an opinion.
I just wanted us to get on a position that we
Okay.
landed on where we had consensus.
Reverend Cummings, how do you feel about scraping the evaluation from the interim, the requirement? We won't follow through with that requirement from the interim contract.
correct.
Okay, so we'll just notate that, and then we are all in agreement that we'll add within 60 days of the release of school and district grades for the annual evaluation term.
I'm going to add to that, or as soon thereafter as may be practicable,
Just to be
because
on the safe side.
if you end up with a scheduling problem where the board meeting falls, the first one we're able to get to falls a day after, it's on day 61, then you're out of the terms of compliance, you know.
As soon as practicable, I love that.
Yes.
All right, goals. There are no red lines here. It is the same as Dr. Gullett's. This is obviously essentially the strategic plan. It's just kind of vague. But the strategic plan outlines the goals of the district. Are there any thoughts on this section related to goals? Okay, we're all good here?
By September 1. It's just, yep, okay.
I think this is an interesting paragraph, because our strategic plan would outline our goals,
Yes.
and those end up coming to us and being reviewed on a cycle, on a routine of work sessions. So by September 1st, is this really necessary, is what I'm thinking? By September 1st of each year, this will propose goals and performance objectives to be achieved or worked toward by the superintendent and her staff. Well, that's the strategic plan.
I mean, it probably would be easier to just say annually instead of a date. Because you could say, well, if the September 1st is the end date, then the entire year prior, she did give us the updates by September 1st. If your vantage point is September 1st is the start, then yes, she's missing the mark because do you know what I'm trying to say?
Do we review strategic plan information on at least a quarterly basis?
No, twice a year.
Twice a year, okay, so if you want to put that in, you can use that as a measuring tool.
I don't think I personally want to overregulate how the superintendent delivers strategic plan updates.
Right.
Personally. I mean, I think if the board feels uncomfortable with the way we're receiving updates, we will ask the superintendent to strengthen the way that we receive updates.
Then annually is fine, however you want to place it. We just need to place it or remove it. We need a timer, though.
Okay, how do we feel about changing the date to annually instead of being as date specific? Board Member Thur? Sorry.
I'm thinking on an ongoing basis via scheduled work sessions.
Right, we get updates through the workshop.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to wait a year to know that we're not meeting our goals.
Well, that's true. Regularly?
Quarterly.
Oh, Dr. Campbell, sorry.
Sure. So the way I'm visualizing this is, I do think that annually, we still need to have the superintendent say, these were the goals from last year. We know this is our goal for 5 years, but this is the goal we anticipate to make in this school year. And I think there's value in setting, we have our long-term goal and our short-term goal that is an annual goal. And so I appreciate the annual thought. I don't really know that we had the superintendent detailing to us specific performance objectives she intended to have. So I think that this part of the contract previously, I don't know that we actually had that specifically occurring, apart from the strategic plan.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the strategic plan had all of those subsections, and so each subsection had a quantifiable metric, and it had a goal for the year and a goal for the 5 years. So, and we received those, maybe it was once annually, maybe it wasn't twice annually, but they're paced out like every 2 or 3 months over the course of 12 months, and there are 5 sections, so that's how it all shakes out. So, I think if we just say annually, we're gonna be updated on every goal, that's essentially what happens.
On its own side.
That's the official update the board receives, is essentially the presentation of the strategic plan.
I think that's good.
Okay, Reverend Cummings?
I mean, I can get behind the annual thing, but I would like to, as a board member, I want to see, I don't want us to wait a whole year to find out we got a problem in an area. I'd rather see things in some shorter increments to know, are we progressing? Do we need to adjust? You know, is the superintendent seeing that there's an issue that they need to adjust something on the strategic plan? So I would like to see something a little bit more frequently or inserted in there somewhere. I hope I'm making sense, y'all.
But this language is talking about proposing goals and performance objectives, not touching base on those proposals. So I appreciate what you're saying, but this language is specifically referencing the proposal of goals and objectives, which is what the strategic plan update work sessions are for.
It also talks about the progress of those goals too. At the end, the last sentence talks about the progress of those goals.
So we can, what I'm saying is we change the September 1st to annual, meaning annually we are receiving the proposed goals and performance objectives. And then potentially Reverend Cummings, the superintendent, will report to the school board her progress in meeting the school board approved goals and objectives on a regular basis. Or if you want to be more specific, you can, because I understand what you're trying to say.
We need to write whatever we write for compliance. Regular basis does not write compliance. We need to find out, I need to know when someone has breached the contract because this has not been done.
It could be quarterly or it can be every semester for me. But I just think there needs to be some checkpoints in there.
Quarterly makes sense, because we're broken up
Progress
into
monitor.
quarters in terms of
We do those
students'
progress
grades and the
monitorings.
benchmark assessments and.
Quarterly based on the academic year? meaning the academic
Academic
quarters,
calendar.
Academic calendar,
or quarterly based on July 1 to June 30th.
academic.
I would say academic, quarterly.
So following the conclusion of each academic quarter.
So we have to think of this, sorry, if we're having open
Yep.
discussion. We have to think of this more holistically. We're really focused on all of those academic metrics, because of course, that's what our business is. But the overall evaluation tool and the strategic plan will encompass staffing that also work year-round, all of our facilities needs, safe schools, finance, all of those things that are happening year-round. So I don't want us to get so hung up on, yes, student performance metrics are really what we're in this business for. But we also want to make sure that we don't forsake all those other things. So I think a
Right.
quarterly, based on the
July 1.
calendar, actually would make more sense.
You're right.
So then that would mean at a semester break, December would be one of the quarter, January, whatever, you would still get that natural break at the semester, but you would still, calendar quarter would be.
I don't know that it needs to be formally presented in a workshop. I think we receive information independently and updates very regularly about data, about behavior, about finances. So I think what we're looking to make sure is an enshrining contract is that we are getting regular, which we will define, updates regarding the metrics that we've set in the strategic plan. Would that be a summary of what everyone's trying to accomplish, or no? Board Member Thrower?
That, and I hear that, it also leaves the public out. So I would be more comfortable with at least biannually, maybe, updates, because what I'm remembering is that pretty much every couple of work sessions, there was a strategic plan goal presented, and I can't remember what the verbiage is for the factors. And that was really helpful to me as a board member, because then we could weigh in on and give feedback on what staff is doing to adjust or what to celebrate, and that's all public.
I respectfully, though, I think that speaks to the start of the thing. So the superintendent annually will propose goals and performance objectives. So as we have those strategic goal updates, because we get them annually, goal 1, we get the goals for this year, where we were last year, where we're going. I mean, that is what those meetings are. They do happen essentially every 2 months, so it feels like they're happening regularly, but that is each goal annually being presented.
'Cause they all-
Understood.
Right.
I mean-
It is a cycle.
Right.
Yes.
It's a running calendar,
Right.
like we wish we'd had with attendance.
Okay, I'll just try to simplify it by saying I'd like for that process to continue, at least while I'm still on the board, because it seems like it worked well.
I'm not looking to change anything we're currently doing.
No, me either, but I do agree with Reverend Cummings that I think the expectation as a board member is that we do get regular, whatever we deem that to be as a procedure. We don't want to know at the end of the cycle, at the end of the year, that there's been a big loss in one area, or, there's a deficit. So my expectation is that, and Dr. Brewer does a good job at keeping us updated.
Which is whose contract we're talking about.
Yes.
So it's not like we're talking about a contract for someone we don't know.
Right. I just mean that, somewhere, I think the expectation is shared, and it doesn't have to be in this.
And I think personally, one of the things that we've all had issues with as board members was communication or lack of communication. So I think this helps with that communication piece, and which is a part of the evaluation tool that's a part of their evaluation. This helps that superintendent be successful in that area for me. So I need to be able to see, I don't want to know the house is on fire after it's burnt down.
So let's just get some landing. Let's try to bring this plane in for a landing. So at the beginning of the sentence, the superintendent annually will propose goals and performance objectives to be achieved or worked toward by the superintendent and her staff. Do we feel good changing the September 1st date to the word annually?
Yes.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay, so we're landed on changing September 1st to annually. And then looking at the August 1st date, we would like to change that to quarterly. I believe that's what I've heard the majority of the board say. So,
So quarterly updates in that last portion?
correct. The August 1st date would change to the
Okay.
word quarterly.
Maybe we could say at least quarterly, which would cover the something's on fire part.
Sure, at least quarterly. Do we feel comfortable with at least quarterly?
Yeah, that's great for me.
That sounds
Thank
good,
you.
Nance.
Okay, so I hear 5 of us saying change August 1st to the words at least quarterly. Does that sound good from legal?
Yes.
All right, moving on to certification. This is the same as Dr. Gullett's. There is a yellow highlighted portion that says at the district's expense, the superintendent will belong or become certified through the Florida Association of District School Superintendents, FADS. This is separate from the memberships section. So she also has a section regarding memberships, which we will get to. I think one thing that I would like us to consider, and maybe it's not for now, it's for later. What I have heard, which we're gonna all have in-depth conversations with our CFO tomorrow, we have things to cut, and my understanding is each department is gonna be tasked with making cuts. Every department, every school is making cuts, every department is making cuts. I see Mr. Rios shaking his head. So my expectation as a board member would be that there is no department held harmless. Like, everyone is responsible for making cuts. So my expectation would be that the superintendent as well as the school board are both making cuts if we are cutting from every department and every school. And that may just be my own personal philosophy, but if we enshrine this into contract that we are going to pay for FADS, we will not be, her budget, which I believe she shared with everyone, there's not a lot of fluff there. And so it's a concern for me that we will enshrine in contract a professional membership, which we may then need to have conversation about as we are cutting another $30+ million from our budget. So those are just my thoughts on it, and I open it to the board to have discussion. Dr. Campbell.
I will wholeheartedly disagree with that thought process. I completely respect that there need to be cuts made to every budget, so I understand that. But being a part of the Florida Association of District School Superintendents, being the only district out of 67 that would not have a representative there, will not benefit this district at all. I believe wholeheartedly that the training she's receiving, even the training she received last week, will help her be a better professional. That's the purpose of professional development. We have found the value in the Florida School Boards Association. I understand there were decisions made last year, budgetary decisions that specific board members chose to make. However, the value of the professional development that has been lost to the full board this past year is not going unnoticed by me, certainly. And so I will wholeheartedly believe that FADS is a requirement of this district, that we find the money to ensure that our superintendent has a seat at that table at all times in every way. The benefits received, including all of the legislative updates, all the things that come specifically from those state associations, give us a seat at the table that is different and unique to any other professional organization that she could be a part of. So I will completely disagree with us not having a FADS membership.
And for the record, I'm not saying get rid of the FADS membership. I'm saying take it out of the contract that it's contractually required to pay for it. Any other board members have a thought on the matter?
I do. I'm in alignment with Dr. Campbell on this one. There's extreme value in our superintendent being a member of FADS. And I think it should come at the district's expense. It is part of professional development, and I just feel that that's something that's has benefited our district for a while. That membership in FADS. So I think it should be a part of the certification process.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Board Member Thur.
I appreciate all the conversation around this. I've witnessed it both ways. And I would say that, across 2 different superintendents, 3 now. And I would say that the 2 out of 3 that are active participants and really taking the learning, the professionalism, the having a group to share and just, again, be a seat at that table is really worth it. And I guess to me, it feels a little counterintuitive. Our teachers have to complete professional development to be able to recertify.
Correct.
So I just believe that the value far outweighs the expense. Hopefully there'll be some other ways across the department. It kind of reminds me, and again, I've been here a while. Years ago during the Great Recession, it seemed pretty weird to me that a behavior specialist would be asked to limit their school visits because of the budget. One big lawsuit. So, again, you rob Peter to pay Paul dearly later.
Okay.
I'll stop with that.
Board Member Conrad.
Thank you. I appreciate the conversation too. This is something that I've struggled with. The price tag is large. Most of us as teachers, when we recertify, we recertify for free. Unless we've let it go too long, and then we have to pay for a course out of pocket. But our certification is, if you stay ahead of it, you can take care of it without much of a cost. I just struggle that it's such a high price tag. Like $26,000 is a lot of money. I definitely want our superintendent to have a seat at the table. I think all of the things that she shared with us, that FADS covers and assists with, are all great and wonderful and important. I just think it's a really high price tag.
Okay.
So I'm just going to share that, board. I'm struggling with the amount, not the value of it.
Well, and again,
not the training that she reserves. And
my perspective was simply to not enshrine it in contract. But what I hear is everyone wants to keep it in contract, so that works for me. Are we good there? All right. Moving on to administrative authority delegated. It's the same as Dr. Gullett's and no recommendations from legal.
Okay. Keep rolling.
Okay. Everyone good there? All right. Performance objective and responsibilities. And board, there is, Ms. Brown and Attorney Powers, please reference the email from Dr. Brewer yesterday evening or afternoon regarding the FADS bonus, I guess we would call it. You both received an email from Dr. Brewer. There's a compensation component to her CEO program she's in. It's a year-long program, and there is a bonus component that the district is responsible for paying out after the evaluation of that program. If it was an elected position, if it was an elected position, the state pays for it. Because if it's not an elected position, we pay for it. And it generally is about $7,000. But I do believe that we need to ensure that that is a part of the contract.
And that was back here.
Is that a one-time bonus?
Yes, for the completion of the program.
Piece of the program.
I would imagine we also did this with Dr. Gullett. I'm seeing a yes from Ms. Morant. I think it probably wasn't really put in contract, but it was done for Dr. Gullett. So I just think it's important that we make sure under performance objectives and job responsibilities potentially, if that's not the appropriate place, then it could go somewhere else, but that we make sure that we are notating that essentially we're responsible out of non-restricted funds to pay this.
I thought I saw it.
Do you see the email I'm referencing? Okay. Do you have comment on it?
I do not. I mean, I haven't done any kind of deep dive into it. I've read the email. So,
Okay.
So it's a one-time cost to us, or because she's certified, we pay that every year because she keeps up a certification?
No, it's a bonus based on evaluation for participation in the program.
One time.
So once she gets that certification, we do the one-time bonus once she completes it, correct?
Correct.
And then it's not recurring, so.
Correct. Board Member Thrower?
My objection lies with the unfairness that if you are an appointed superintendent, the district has to pay for something that the state obviously supports and is willing to pay for. So, Board Member Campbell, would you please add that to your list of member advocacy? And we can start that in July when we meet with our local delegation.
And-
That makes no sense.
And
Honest.
so just, this is the Chief Executive Officer Leadership Training through FADS.
And it is in the contract on page 5, under certification incentive.
And so I'm bringing it up here to make sure it is in fact captured.
It is in the contract. I don't think we discussed it perhaps, or, but it is on page
Yes.
5.
Okay.
Double I.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Saw it.
So then we don't need to dig into that because it is an I. I wanted to make sure that it was captured. So
So the question, though, would become, I guess, because she's received that certification while
Yeah.
she's the interim.
no, she is not. She just
Okay.
started the program.
Okay, she just started it. Okay, all right, terrific.
Yep.
Well, it's already in the contract that it would be a part of it.
Perfect. So the performance objectives and job responsibilities, which is the section where we would talk about the performance pay bonus. So we'll revisit that now, board. Personally, I don't think I'd like to offer performance pay outside of getting an A school district and a set rate for graduation rate. So we can start with district grades. Does anyone have an opinion different than an A district?
I don't.
Okay?
Before we move on to that, I want to clarify, if we're moving on from the Chief Executive Officer Leadership Training, I'm not seeing, we've got on page 5, it's paragraph
Aye.
2II. It's already enshrined in contract. There is, I did get the email regarding what CEO LDP does. So is there a need for an alteration? Board Member James, are you seeing that there is some need for alteration in the contract to mesh this? Or I don't see any changes to the program. I don't see anything that makes it a different than what we already currently do.
No, so it was brought to my attention and it was sent to the attorney and the clerk to ensure that it was covered in the contract, which is why I'm bringing it up, because the rest of the board did not receive the communication. And honestly, until I was made aware yesterday, I wasn't aware that the board was responsible for a $7,000
I see.
incentive. And by the way, that number is not in here actually at all in the contract. So as a board member, I wouldn't have been even able to recognize that we were responsible for theoretically a $7,000 bonus. My also, I guess, the language around the monetary compensation is not very clear, in my opinion, for II. It doesn't say that it's a bonus. It doesn't say that it's a salary adjustment. It's not clear. So if we were going to make it more clear, I would ask that we look at the specific language that was sent to you all and add in specification that it is a bonus and not a salary adjustment, because I heard Reverend Cummings specifically share hesitation around a salary adjustment.
And of course, it may impact what other benefits or bonuses that the board chooses to give.
It does say at the bottom of II, it is specifically understood between the parties that any monies earned under this section shall not be a part of the superintendent-based
Oh,
salary.
okay. Well, thank you for that.
We give them 26 and they give us 7 back, is that what we're saying?
In 1 year. Yes, ma'am.
And it is listed on the certification incentive, so it's I guess, we know it's a one-time thing.
Right, it's not recurring.
Correct. So if no one seeks clarification, I'm simply bringing it up because it was brought to my attention and I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page because it had not previously been redlined. So I wanted to make sure everyone was aware and knew.
Yeah, without seeing the email, it's difficult to completely understand. So you said that FADS pays that back to us? Like, I haven't seen the email.
FADS pays it to Dr. Brewer, I believe.
Okay, so
I'm
FADS.
not exactly sure how the money is transacted, so Maybe Ms. Morant has historical information about Dr. Gullitz. I don't know how she received the money, but, I mean, it doesn't seem like we really have an option, so it's not really, there's not much we can do about
And
it.
it's not money out of our pocket, other than the membership to FADS.
No, I'm pretty sure it's I think we pay for it, like, as a part of,
Again, didn't see the email, have no idea what to talk about.
correct, and it would be improper for me to forward anything to all of
Absolutely.
you.
100%.
So Attorney Powers, you're more than welcome to forward the email that you received to everyone if you'd like. But the board is responsible for paying a bonus at completion of the evaluation. That is the way I understand it. Sure, Ms. Moran, if you have context, that would be helpful.
Good morning, Board Chair and Board members. So I want us to be on the same page as well. The CEO bonus, unless that amount has changed, but based on what Dr. Gullett received, it was $7,500, and she did receive it more than once. So, and then I was looking at the contract language. It does look like it implies that it is a recurring, because it says you have to maintain it as well. But it's not a part of the base salary. It's an added line that's paid through payroll, but just like the car allowance, it's not included in that base salary.
That is what I thought. Thank you.
So it is reoccurring.
It is reoccurring, and
My-
and we pay the $7,500, or,
My understanding, and Mr. Rios as well can research and confirm, that that is paid by the district, that amount. But that certification, that Chief Executive Officer Leadership Development, now, again, I'm basing this on what Dr. Gullett received. She received that in 23-24. It was added to her salary line, also 24-25. And if I am looking at the right version of the contract, it does mention about that you have to have it and maintain it, which would also lead to, by completing, obtaining, and maintaining the leadership development and performance certification, so that lean towards the idea that it is a recurring bonus as well, or supplement.
Correct. So this is why I brought it up to the board, because I didn't know exactly where it fell, but I wanted to make sure we were all aware that this is one of those add-ons, and if we were reflect back on Dr. Gullett's salary, we were all kind of like, wow, how is it so high? But then there was line item that were, the word inflating, it maybe is the wrong word to use, but that is what I literally mean, the salary, because the base salary was still pretty low, but then we had essentially multiple items that increased that salary. And there's nothing we can do about this, because, again,
Other than change our base salary that we've already agreed upon. I mean, when we start, maybe,
and I don't think personally think that's appropriate. I think she could go be a competitive candidate in another district and get more than that. And I don't think it would be appropriate. And they're all gonna get the same $7,500, because if every district is a part of FADS, every district is sending their superintendent through this program, and then every superintendent is getting this incentive. Correct, that we're paying for.
is there any other way to get the certification, or you can only get it through FADS?
I can't speak to that. I don't know,
Yeah, you can
but
only do
we can try to dig for you, but I'm not familiar either way.
It's like becoming a certified board member.
Right.
As,
And there's no bonus.
Thank you
You do
for
the work
finishing my
because you
statement,
want to
but
be a
it's-
good
yeah.
board, you want to be a good board member,
Right.
so you do the
Right.
work.
Right, but it's only through the Florida School Boards Association that you can earn this certified school board member status, because they're the ones that offer the coursework and the conferences and everything else. So, you know, these professional leadership organizations and memberships, you have to weigh the value, you know, versus the cost. And from what I've been able to benefit from through the years, I think that my participation in the Florida School Boards Association has been, you know, really valuable and has benefited me as a school board member. One of my regrets is that I haven't been more active in leadership positions within that organization, but I chose to focus my time with my schools. So, you know, again, what are we about here? This is Marion County Public Schools. I think we're about education. I think we're about elevating our professionals and expecting that we take advantage of these opportunities. But there's money involved.
Correct, and to keep us on track, we've already agreed we're keeping FADs in the contract, that's not changing. So I just think it's a part, as we continue to talk about performance objectives and job responsibilities, I wanted to make sure the board had awareness, and thank you for clarifying, Ms. Morant. But in the base salary that we've agreed to, which I believe was 205, if I go back and look at my notes, was that correct?
Yes.
So 205, within the next 12 months, an additional 7,500, which will be prorated based on the completion for that year, which would be next school year, will be added. So, Board Member Thor?
May I offer that, just having it in there for clarity, because I agree this is unclear, it's easy to just read through and be like, oh. Currently, $7,500.
It's not that, though. So it's based on an evaluation. So Dr. Gullett, and I imagine most, probably do really well on the evaluation, and they land themselves at the top tier, but there is an evaluation component attached to the completion of the program, which then dictates the amount of money that you get.
Oh, I thought the prorated meant that depending on when you.
That is what prorated means, but what I'm saying is the bonus is not a flat 7,500. The bonus
Because you can get like
Is
a level
up-
3 or a level 5, like,
Or,
Based on a superintendent's score,
right.
and then it's 3,000 to 7,500.
So up to.
And I would feel hesitant to set it because if FADS decides that they're gonna change the threshold that we then have to be responsible for, we would have enshrined in contract something that we would have to change.
you would have to change, so currently a range of 3,000 to 7,500, subject to,
Evaluation.
subject to adjustments via FADs or something. If we wanted to make it clear that there's money involved in this paragraph, that's what I'm trying to work towards.
I agree, because when you read that last sentence, at least for me, my takeaway is it's a one-time cost for us. When I read that, that's what it feels like. So I definitely think that needs to be ironed out.
Well,
That's something you
it's-
might be able to work on.
And the other thing I want to share, and this is a little in the weeds, Chair, so I'm sorry, but as a board, if all of us are members of FSBA, it's the same amount as what we're spending for the superintendent. So it's 5 of us are members and get trained for about the same amount as the superintendent. And then there's no bonus or anything for whatever we complete.
Darn.
But I wanted to say that so the public understands.
Dr. Campbell?
Thank you. I wanted to elaborate just a bit on that again for public conversation. So when you think of what we receive, being only 67 school districts in the state of Florida, and when you would potentially compare us to a Texas or a Tennessee or a New York or other states, they have thousands of school districts that help provide staffing and support for all that is needed for the multiple million students in each of those states. So if, I'm going to speak for FSBA, if FSBA were to reduce the membership rate significantly to say $10,000 per district or something to that degree, we would not be able to provide the same level of services at all. When you think of all the different things that happen, you've got all of your leadership trainings, that's under one staff person. You've got all the conferences, another staff person. All the communication that we receive on a regular basis. We've got all the legislative and federal work that's being done. All of those different pieces are all done by different people. The legal work that they get from FADS. So yes, the price tag is high, but the reason it's high is because there's only 67 districts that are contributing. And if you were thinking of thousands of school districts, then that would be thousands of superintendents that would be contributing. And that's just not the case in the state of Florida. It's unfortunate that it looks like this exorbitant cost to us, but that's the way it has to be explained. To be able to receive that level of service, the cost has to be high or we would not be receiving that same level of service. Yes, 5 of us get to participate in Florida School Boards Association for roughly the same cost, but that again is the same cost per district because there's only 67 districts. And those costs are prorated, or prorated is not scaled based on size of districts also. So they do take that into consideration based on the number of students you serve.
Board, for the purpose of this conversation, I'd like to just keep us focused if we can. So we have agreed that the, staying in the contract is the FAD's membership. And now I would like if we can just firm up if we want to add language about monetary value back to that section on certification. Attorney
As
Powers?
your attorney, I'm going to recommend it's not necessary. And the reason is, at the very beginning, certification incentive, after that language, it says, "The superintendent shall be eligible to receive salary enhancements in accordance with the following statutes."
That's right.
Salary enhancement, I mean, that alerts you that the money's involved. Secondly, the statute involved, 1001.40, and it goes on to 1001.47 and 5. Those outline the amounts. When you look at the statute, there's a $2,000 on one, and the statute gets updated regularly to show what the amounts are.
Understood.
So I don't think any alteration is necessary. It says what it needs to say, but it can be more explanatory from a, sort of a, making sure that someone reading the contract is not having to deal with fine print. They're able to.
Okay, well, board, do we feel comfortable then keeping the language the same?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, the same thing he said. It's already enshrined in that with the statute, so there's no need in being redundant in it. It's
Understood.
like it is.
So are we all in agreement then with keeping the language the same? I see a yes from Dr. Campbell. That's 3 yeses.
Sure.
Okay, so let's get back to then the performance objectives, responsibilities, which is item 14 on page 9. This is where we would discuss a bonus for receiving an A school district rating. So let's start there, board. Anyone? Dr. Campbell?
So, no, it's fine. I was looking at the Lake superintendent contract, and there are 2 different levels. One is job performance. I guess that would be based on board member evaluations, and then the other is on student achievement. So initially, I had considered those 2 as the options. However, especially in light of understanding now that the base compensation of 205 now potentially has the opportunity to go up to 212.5 just because of the conversation we just had, I would be comfortable with a bonus of $5,000 for A-rated and maybe $7,500 for graduation rate at 95%.
Is that an additional or in conjunction? Meaning, is the 7,500 separate from the 5?
It is. I see those 2 things as being separate. I think that graduation rate needs to be actually the A-rated school district. Yes, we want to get there, but I think our graduation rate has to be the real, every student or graduate, that's going to be our new focus for our strategic plan.
What's the rate you said, Dr. Campbell?
I said 5,000 for A-rated and 7,500 for 95%, but we could change that if we wanted. That was just a throw out to get the conversation started.
All right.
But graduation rate needs to hit a certain level for that second bonus to kick in.
So let's start, I appreciate your recommendations, Dr. Campbell. Let's start with her recommendation for a bonus for an A-rated school district. She recommended $5,000. Do we are in agreement, or do we have any requests to change that? I can be in agreement with that.
Is that,
Nice number.
is that pretty much standard across the?
Like,
It's becoming standard. I mean,
I can get behind 5,000. I can get, I'll be honest, I'll get 5,000 for both, graduation and the A district. I wouldn't want to differentiate 2 different amounts, but
so we're in a 2-year contract. So what I would offer is we've seen a pretty significant post-COVID increase. We're almost essentially back to where we were pre-COVID. If we were to maintain this, though, a 95 would almost be unachievable in this first contract based on the increases we have. We've had 7% in 2 years. Well, if we have 7% in the next 2 years, she will not be able to hit that graduation rate because of where we are right now, right? So I would just offer potentially like either a 90 or a 92, because when this contract ends, my expectation certainly would be that we'd be raising that number to a higher number with the contract renewal. We wouldn't maintain we should only be getting better, right? So I can agree with 5,000 for both. I just would say that grad rate could be somewhere between 90 and 92, so that it's an attainable goal in this first 2-year contract. And then from there, as if I'm still a board member, my expectation would be that we would be raising that.
And board members, if you look at page 5 of your contracts, at the very top, There's a section, it's all blocked in red, performance pay incentive. We had, because we had initially blocked that out, we hadn't moved it. When this was created, Ms. Marchman put it in this spot. It's not the right spot for it, though it sounds like we may be wanting to use it, in which case that section, performance pay incentive, should actually now be moved, if you intend to use something like it, should be moved to page 9 and should be item D under performance objective,
Correct.
job responsibilities.
We would like to see that happen.
Want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with that. And then, so I'll be working from altering the language, since it sounds like we do want to use performance pay incentive. I'm working from altering the language that exists there.
Correct. So, looking at page 5, board, if everyone will put their attention on page 5, what was presented was $10,000 for an A rating and $2,500 for a grad rate of 90% or higher. I think we had a recommendation from at least 2 board members now about $5,000 for an A-rated district. Can I get us all to agree, or offer an opposing opinion on the A-rated district rate?
5,000 works for me.
Yeah, 5,000 works for me.
Okay. And Reverend Cummings, I'm sorry?
Yeah, I said 5.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So we're at 5,000 for the A-rated district, and then what percentage of a grad rate are we looking at? And then we'll talk number.
I can go behind, I can get with 92%.
92?
Can we have a range? Can we have 90 to 92?
I don't think that would be appropriate. I think
We're
we
at
should be
85
specific.
right now?
We're at 85 and have gained 7 points in 2 years.
Right.
I like the language of 90% or higher, especially for a 2-year contract. I think your point is well taken, that we want it to be achievable. And it's not saying 90, it's not like you're not going to get the money if it's higher.
Correct.
So 90% or higher, I think that's very achievable.
All right, then using the language she presented, how does everyone feel about that?
I like it.
Yeah, I can do
With a
that
note,
for
we
2
definitely wanna
years.
We want to
Right.
revisit that for sure.
Okay, and then,
I can support it.
and the rate, 5,000?
5 was mine.
Okay,
Currently 2,500.
correct, but the A district was 10,000.
Yes.
So we're
We want
we're
5 and
saying
5.
5 for each.
Yep.
Okay,
Terry's got it. Terry's got it.
all right, so then when
We're
we go,
actually saving money.
when we go back to 9, when we go back to page 9, board, back to performance objectives and job responsibilities, we're gonna add in D, which we are all in agreement on adding. And then there was no other changes here for performance objectives or job responsibilities, board. So is everyone else good with what's left, for that section?
Yes.
Yes?
Ma'am.
Fine.
Okay, exclusive employment. This is, the same as Dr. Gullett's. Is there any changes or corrections, board?
It's going to be the only job.
Only job.
Yes.
She doesn't have time.
Can't be paid to be a mentor or consultant.
Correct? Are we all good?
Yes.
Okay. Memberships.
Here we go again.
Here we go again, but we've really just nailed this down, y'all. So, this is essentially saying memberships outside of FADS, because FADS is contractually required, will not exceed $5,000.
Right. Like,
Her current memberships do not exceed $5,000.
okay. I'm good with that.
Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, travel allowances. This is getting redlined to add out-of-district travel, since we are setting a in-district travel, essentially, with the vehicle expense, we're saying in-district travel, you're using your personal vehicle, so we're not reimbursing for that. So it's really just specifying that you'll only be reimbursed for out-of-district travel.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, so
Yes.
that language will be added to that, yes.
Yes, it's redlined to add in, yep. All right, that's 5 yeses with what the attorney had recommended. The attorney's fees and expenses, it's the same as Dr. Gullett's. Is there any changes or corrections there, board?
As long as our attorney's happy with it.
Yep, this is what the recommendation is.
All right.
But those fees, there was a certain amount.
They are subject to our board policy.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
Very good.
Do you want to add the policy
Yeah,
number
'cause,
into that?
yeah, I
if
would
you'd
say
like?
that.
We
If you want to, we can, but
I would.
we'll do that.
Add in
Thank
the
you.
board policy number.
Because
We have a
we,
board policy on point for that reason.
because we had an issue with that before. So, yes. Yes.
I was in the audience, I remember.
All right, so we will add the policy number to this, and then we are all in agreement once we add the policy number. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. Governing laws and venues, there are no changes. It's what's recommended by Attorney Powers. Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, 5 in agreement. Severability, same as Dr. Gullett's, no changes from the attorney.
Yes.
Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Campbell, yes?
Yes.
All right, so that's 5 yeses. Warranties and representatives of superintendent, same as Dr. Gullett's. This is a fit for duty.
Standard.
It is standard.
Yes.
Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. The entire agreement, same as Dr. Gullett's, no changes from our attorney.
Yes.
Yes.
This is all just standard stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's no need to modify.
Okay, opportunity to consult with counsel. We all in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Tax consequences. All in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Default. Again, same as Dr. Gullett's. All in agreement?
Yes. Policy in Florida law, so.
You good, Reverend Cummings?
Yes.
Okay, additional action.
Yes.
Again, same as Dr. Gullett's.
Okay.
Yep. Board Member Thor, are you good?
Yes.
Okay. Amendment.
Yes.
Yes.
We all in agreement? No changes? Okay. No third-party beneficiaries?
Yes.
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 Okay, sounds like we're all in agreement there. Selection and approval of counsel, same as Dr. Gullett's and is needed for other outside counsel options. That's the note from our attorney. Any other changes, board?
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, sounds like 5 in agreement there. Sovereign immunity, same as Dr. Gullett's. Any changes, board?
I'm a
Nope.
yes.
Please, legislature, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, looks like we're all in agreement for sovereign immunity. Indemnification,
Leave it alone.
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sounds like we're 5 in agreement for that. Waiver, same as Dr. Gullett's.
Yes.
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 Okay, sounds like we're 5 in agreement there. Legal compliance,
Yes.
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 okay, sounds like we're 5 in agreement there. Notices,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
all right, 5 in agreement there. And counterparts.
Yes.
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 All right, so board, I just want to go back. I made notes. I want to go back to the things that we were not in 100% agreement with, which is perfectly fine. Compensation, we are at 205, 3 board members in agreement on 205 base and 2 board members at 210. And then looking at the supermajority, we have 3 board members in support of a supermajority and 2 in support of a majority. And obviously, I shall not go back to the FADS conversation. So I believe that sums it up. Everything else was we were all in agreement on. Attorney, is there any further discussion you need from us?
From this point, we would finish the red lines, make sure that everything is coherent, and would send it to the superintendent and her council for review. And then as soon as we hear back, we'll be prepared to slate it on for
April 28th.
April 28th.
And just to be clear, it can be predated April 28th, so we could actually have it in a meeting ahead of that with the date effective of April 28th.
We could.
Okay. I mean, I think it might be, it may make the community more comfortable to know we're not sitting on it for 2 months, and if we have it done, how would the board feel about hearing it on a meeting prior to April 28th?
Let's go ahead and do it.
I mean, that's fine. Certainly, this is kind of a negotiation, so Dr. Brewer
Correct.
needs to have the opportunity to weigh in on what her thoughts are and the things that we.
Well, that's what will come next. So we're gonna get redlined, it's gonna go to her attorney, and then based on if her attorney says, all good, let's play ball, then it will be done and it will land on an agenda for the board.
I would say as soon as possible. If she's in agreement, we're in agreement, put it on and
Okay.
date it for the 28th start date, as soon as possible.
Okay? Does that sound good to the rest of the board?
I would just say that it would be nice to have it buttoned up before we leave for spring break. That
Yeah.
would be a nice goal.
I mean, I do think the possibility exists for the last board meeting in February if her attorney agrees with everything we've presented. I mean, if they agree with everything we've presented, it's pretty easy.
Well, sure.
Certainly, if Attorney Powers feels like we need to meet again, I'll be reaching out to the board via Elena and staff to get another work session scheduled to discuss the items we need to discuss further. Okay? Is there any public comment on this item? All right, hearing none, I do believe that wraps up this particular item. Let's go ahead and take we'll call it a 10-minute recess to allow Ms. Brown to gather her things, because I think she's done with us. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for being here today. And that'll give us a little bit of time to grab a quick bite, and we'll come back at, let's call it 11:28.
But we call it 11:30.
11:30. All right, welcome back. It is 11:34. Our final item for today is the school board residency areas. So board, we have 3 attachments in board docs for this. This item has been one that Dr. Campbell has mentioned a couple times, and we've honestly discussed as a board, as we've grown in the Southwest, the amount of students in that particular area have grown. And so just to read into record some of the attachments, I can do that while you guys work on opening.
Yeah, Board Docs isn't opening right now for me, so.
So the current school assignments per board member have the following total student enrollments projected, or for the 25-26 school year. So in District 1, it's 8,400 students, District 2, 8,900 students, District 3, 16,000 students, District 4, 5,500 students, and District 5, 5,900 students. So this was really brought about for the intentionality of balancing the student enrollments amongst all 5 districts. There is the 2021 residency areas is presented, and then looking at the attachment, which is the proposed school assignments, that is the proposed from Dr. Campbell. Certainly, it's just really a starting place for the board to have discussion. So I would open it up to Dr. Campbell or the rest of the board to start a conversation.
Okay. Board Docs is finally starting to open. Sorry, I'm just trying to
You're fine.
get, because the document that I worked on, then Dr. Brewer had added the
Projections for next year.
projections for next year. So
Yep.
I'm just trying to get all of them open correctly. So all I can start with our current assignments. And so just to give you the indication of how the colors then transfer over into the other one, because that, in case there is any confusion on that. So if you also look at the school board map, those are our colors that are representative on the map. So that's how I created the current school assignments. So District 1 on the map is like a blue color, and District 2 is a yellow color, so forth. So that's why the colors are what they are. So you can kind of see that corresponding. Then if you take those colors and keep the colors the same, so whereas, I'll use an example of Greenway Elementary is currently in blue, because that is currently a District 1 assigned school, and you go over to the proposed, the color of blue goes over into the yellow, because Greenway keeps its blue color, because that's where it currently is, and then goes over into potentially District 2, because all of Silver Spring Shores on the map, all of Silver Spring Shores is now represented by District 2. So hopefully that hasn't been completely confusing. I'm trying to make sense of it in case you guys just are like, why is this way? Why is that way? So again, the colors on the map, all 3 attachments kind of have to work in tandem. Mm-hmm. The map was redone in 2021 based on census. And so those are now our live-in districts, and there were changes that were made quite significantly. Reverend Cummings and Ms. Thrower can remember, we had conversation with the supervisor of elections, and we talked through what that would look like. Our board policy and statute, I think, or at least board policy allows us to do that in odd numbered years, and so we did that change so that anybody who ran in 22 and 24 and now in 26 are following this map. The 2020s were different. So anyway, that's the history on what this is. As the map continued to change and evolve, and as we continued to add schools, we never made changes to the school assignments that each school board member has.
Can I add one clarifying point real quick?
Absolutely.
To your point, some of the adjustments you made were because now, like as Greenway as an example, is in District 2's live-in district.
Correct.
But not all of the changes you made were for that reason.
That is correct.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, that there are some, when you're looking at the map, you're like, that doesn't make sense. Some were for that leveling purpose, and then others were just for rather more balancing than anything else.
Correct.
Okay.
So, yes, thank you for that clarification. So, yes, then with, for example, a Dr. N.H. Jones and a Madison Street, while Dr. N.H. Jones has a very small live-in district, the majority of the students there are a part of the school choice lottery that is happening right now. And so those schools don't necessarily have to go with a live-in district per se. And same with a few others. Hillcrest isn't a live-in district either. So there's a couple of modifications that are included there. Acceleration Academy, Bridgeway, those are just kind of students from everywhere come through those. Fordham as well. So those are some areas that we're able to kind of move, and that was a part of the balancing that was trying to be done. There are a couple of overall goals, the reason the conversation continues to be brought up. Number one is I want families that each one of us represent, and when they go to our website, they can see which schools we represent. I want families in those areas to understand that we are assigned that school, and also partly that they could run for our seat if they didn't like what we said or something. Like, I don't want that to be confusing to families that might be like, oh, well, I'll just, run whatever, and it's actually different. So that's one objective. The other is just the vastness of the number of students that we have in certain certain current school assignments. And while we have grown attached to communities and we appreciate the schools that we represent and all, I understand that, and I understand that we're all balancing a heavy load, but ultimately, to be most respectful to the student families and the students we represent, the better balance we can have there, I think it just is better for our overall community. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay. I open it up to the board for further discussion. Board Member Thrower.
We've had some informal chat about this publicly, but just in the spirit of the conversation, what is your proposed timeline, Board Member Campbell, should the board choose to accept this, for this to begin?
Well, and I believe this can be a fluid conversation. Certainly we can, I don't want to say we're going to horse trade it, but it's like if there's reasons that we should not change certain things and keep things differently or what have you, but the way it has been presented here is that it would take effect in the beginning of the school year for next school year. So 26-27 is when the new changes would occur. So just before the election in 2026. I know that messes you up for 3 months, Ms. Thrower.
No, I didn't, that snarl wasn't because of that.
Oh.
It was that with 3 seats up for election, to start the school term with 1 board member and then shift to another in November.
That would happen.
That's going to happen regardless.
Seems odd, or even through the year, but, it's, the change is a change, so.
Well, and it is something that I brought up in one of my very first meetings in 2020 when I was elected. And the reason that I did, and that was before we had even changed the live-in districts, but the reason that I did is I was visiting all of the schools, just the crossover for District 1 and the schools I represent. I represent Forest High School, and then you cross over Baseline, and I don't represent Legacy or even Marion Charter or Emerald Shores, but I do represent Greenway and Lake Weir High, and so it just didn't make geographical sense to me. That was why I first brought it up in 2020, and then in 2021, when we actually did change the live-in districts of each one of us, then now the schools we represent aren't even in the live-in districts that we represent. Except for Reverend Cummings, because he has the largest number. All of his are still staying the same. We're essentially divvying up some of his schools to other places, but also kind of correcting the transition that's been happening with District 1 and District 2. Again, this is a fluid conversation. If 3 of you say, I don't want to have the conversation, that's kind of what's happened every time I've brought it up before. But that's why it's on the agenda.
So let me say, because I have been very vocal concerning this, I understand, Dr. Campbell, where you are. I understand why you've did this before, mentioned it before, because it looks like it's very disproportionate. The number, you're basically talking about removing about 5,000 students out of District 3 and moving them and divvying them up among the other ones, as far as, and there's a few other ones as well. However, my conversations with schools and families is that, especially the ones that you moved on this chart, are very comfortable and very prefer District 3. And there's just a perception when you move certain schools. I'm gonna say that. So I personally, I don't mind us having a conversation, but I'm not in agreement of moving anybody out of District 3 right now. Particularly, you have some schools that have historically been together in these districts. And I'll be very specific in who I'm talking about. College Park, Howard, Dr. Nace Jones, all those schools who have come out of District 3 that have been traditional District 3 schools. And nothing has, I'm not saying the traditions are right, wrong, or anything have to be stayed there. But when there's a comfort level of who you deal with, you need to kind of maintain certain things. So that's where I'm at.
Board Member Thrower.
I'm also thinking about timing. Those of us that have been on the board for a while are deeply involved with start of school, deeply involved with all of the activities that surround the start of school, helping the schools in our district get off to a good start. You know, if I were to support something like this, I just think it makes a whole heck of a lot more sense. I would, as a definite outgoing school board member, would want to pair with whoever the incoming school board member is for my seat and, you know, introduce them to my schools and share the nuances of the schools from my perspective for them to do what they want with it. Have it be a little bit more of a warm handoff versus, okay, well, you know, that's not the way it's going to happen. People they become very invested in some of their school board members. You know, all of us are different. You know, we all bring different histories and perspectives, you know, to these seats. Board Member Cummings just shared his. So I wanted to go ahead and share mine. Numbers matter, certainly when it comes to budget, that's for sure. But when it comes to representation, I think there definitely needs to be a weighed perspective, especially when it comes to the timing.
Madam Chair, one more thing, just to add on, thank you, Ms. Dorr. Not only does it matter with representation, it matters with relationship. It matters with relationship, and ultimately, we all represent every school in this district. Makes no difference where they are, but we all represent every school in the district. So whether my district is 3, the west side of the county, but I go to East Marion, I go to Fort McCoy, I go to all those schools. So I don't just claim a particular school, but there is a comfort level, there is a relationship level, there's that rapport that you build with these districts and these schools.
So I just want to offer a thought pattern here. I think at a bare minimum, in my opinion, it would be appropriate for the reshuffling to reflect at minimum what is now our districts with the supervisor of elections. Because as I look at this map, and obviously it's not crystal clear, but when I look at District 4, I believe District 4 now has College Park, and District 4 has Howard and Jones and some of those other schools. And so I think it would be more than appropriate, if nothing else, to make the assignments reflect what our lived-in boundaries are on the supervisor of election website and our own website for the primary reason, which Dr. Campbell previously mentioned, which is that people attach us to the school their kid attends, and then if they want to find someone to run in that seat, they know, okay, well, this is where that person has to live because my kid goes to this school. So what I would say I would appreciate is whether that may not completely solve what we're looking to accomplish, which is a better balancing of all districts, but at a minimum, put the schools in the districts where they are in fact located. So, Dr. Campbell.
So I have offered before and can offer again what Pinellas does, where they actually don't assign school board members to any schools whatsoever. And so essentially, every board member in Pinellas says they represent all schools, and if you have an issue with any one of them, you contact any one of the school board members that you have the best relationship with.
That's what I
And
look at it that same exact.
And so if that, then I have presented that as an option before as well.
That's funny, I don't remember
I
sharing that.
absolutely did, talked about Pinellas directly. I did talk about Pinellas because I came back from Pinellas and talked about it because, and so that is also something that would be on the table for sure, because this continues to be a challenge for us to want to give up, I guess, what we've had or to continue to maintain the status. Dr. James is correct that what used to be known as District 3 is not District 3 live-in district any longer. I respect what the history of that, but it hasn't been since 2021. So if we wanted to just say scrap it all and starting tomorrow, that the district website did not even have schools assigned to any one of us, that would be fine with me for sure. The only challenge with what you had said there, Dr. James, about only having the schools that are in our live-in districts is because of the discrepancy that happens with District 5. And so the numbers of students and the numbers of schools you have become grossly disproportionate to everybody else. And District 2 has some of those challenges as well, because of the way Silver Spring Shores and Weirsdale and Umatilla, like that kind of area. So originally when I brought this up, you may remember a couple of years ago that staff took it upon themselves to just fix it. And then we were like, wait, no, because we didn't have conversation about it. It just all of a sudden changed, and we were like, because what changed was to take it just to that. And that really made it disproportionate. So this, at least chart perspective, has a lot of thought behind different movements, different placements, how it aligns with the map, how it aligns with schools that you can move based on not really having a zone, so there was a lot of thought into it, but I'm willing to completely scrap it and say, we don't represent one school, we represent all schools, and every school board member has that same seat.
Just real quick, to your point, that's exactly what I say when someone asks me. They say, what schools do you represent? And I say, I represent all schools. I work for the taxpayer, and I represent all of Marion County, and Marion County has countywide voting. So it's not like the only people in District 5 vote for people and vote for me. The entire county votes for every board member. So I don't ever look at it like I represent a certain school. We obviously have relationships that are longstanding. I'm probably going to forever have strong relationships on the north end because I live on the north end and it's a small community and my family is multi-generational there. But that is beyond what seat I'm elected in my opinion. And so, Board Member Thor.
First, let me be clear. I don't mind taking more schools. I just don't want to lose the schools that I have, 3 months before I come out of office after serving 8 years, It's a unique position to be in. Speaking to the extending our one team, one mission to school board service, I think that could be helpful in some ways because people are already very confused about, well, are you in my district versus countywide election? that could be some steps forward towards clarifying some of that for people. So the concept of it as an future thinking outgoing school board member, it does line up with the one team, one mission. I don't think that any of us have ever refused a call. You know, if I got a call from Forest High School with a concern, I'm not going to say I don't represent that district. You know, I'm going to say, how can I help you?
Correct.
So in reality, I believe we're already doing that. There is a comfort level, obviously, you know, of people knowing that this is my school board member, you know? So there's not going to be a perfect fit for this, but I would lean more towards open districts than I would essentially forcing schools and/or board members to leave behind districts that they already have strong established relationships with, that they've done an incredible amount of problem solving, and feel really good about the relationship.
I totally agree, and for me, the one thing I would offer that I would love to still see is on the school board website, we at least list what schools are in each district, not as an assignment, but rather there are people who look for their school's name to then have one person to contact. It can feel very overwhelming when you then have to decide, well, which of these 5 people am I going to call?
Right.
So when your kid goes to Reddick Collier, you just look for which board member is responsible for Reddick Collier, right? And I worry that they will feel overwhelmed when they're now trying to decide, do I start with District 1 and just call District 1, she doesn't answer, go to District 2, go to District 3, go to District 4. So I think it would be helpful to the community to still know what schools are in what districts from a lived-in perspective on what we have approved as our lived-in districts. However that's presented, but I do think that would be helpful to the community. But I'm totally a fan of essentially saying we represent all schools, but these are something like all board members represent all schools. These are a list of the schools inside their districts. But that's my 2 cents.
I could have got behind the open concept, because and it not being on the site that we represent all schools. I get what you're saying, Dr. James. If we're going to change the narrative and make sure that everybody understands that we are representing all schools, whether they're from the far west or the far east, or the far north or far south, then we need to go ahead and make that be the message. That you can call any of us at any time and get a response. So I can be open to the openness of all of us. But I'm as Board Member Thrower was saying, there are some schools that you just have built that rapport, that relationship with, and when you pull them out, you get. I can imagine how many phone calls I want to get from certain people when you say you're going to pull certain schools away from District 3, even though they're not people aren't understanding what we're talking about as far as residency boundary. They're saying, this is the person that represents my school. This is the person that, when I got an issue, I'm going to them. Yes, we need to open it up where they feel comfortable coming to any board member, but it's just how you do. It's going to be how you do this. So.
Okay, so let's see, how do we all feel about removing all of the schools and saying, here's the list of the school board's contact information and a note that says this, all school members represent all schools?
I can get on board with that.
Fine by me.
I can go by
Board Member Thrower?
Yes, and when would this begin?
Whenever we want.
When would you like it to begin?
November 15th, 2020.
November 11th.
So respectfully, I don't think it changes the way of work at all. I mean, it doesn't,
Well, when they don't see your name on there, it's just different, you know? Hey, there's no perfect way to do anything, really.
well, and I think just to give context, so this whole Bellevue situation, I can only speak to the emails I've received because we obviously don't have discourse. But Dr. Campbell and I have received a lot of emails. Neither of us represent Bellevue from our map that's on the school board website. her kids go to Bellevue, and I used to work at Bellevue. And so people attach our names to Bellevue, which is why I imagine the two of us have been getting the emails about Bellevue.
I even got emails and phone calls, which
When they send
Never-
Well, and I'm just thinking though, so, because we get them, all of us get them, but I just found it interesting that there was a variety of emails, a plethora, that were just the two of us. And so, to paint the picture that like, it doesn't matter what schools we have, because it's based on the relationships people at least perceive they have with us, right? And so, to me, it really, people are gonna reach out to whoever they want to reach out to. I mean, those people are only reaching out to me and Dr. Campbell because, or they think we have a pre-existing relationship that has context and understanding to solve the problem.
Sure.
So implementation. Mañana, August 10th, November 11th.
I could say, this is Cummings. I know Ms. Store's leaving the board. I would say, if you're gonna implement it at the start of the school year, which is what, August? I know that still gives you a few months but at that time,
I know where my schools are.
right, you know where your schools are.
They
By
know
that,
where I
by
am.
that
My
time.
I know where all the other schools are
Notice
too.
she's using the word mine.
Well,
I know.
But you feel, there's some possession.
Feel connected.
Yes,
Yeah.
and by that time, I think by the end of August, you'll have the seats hopefully will be seated as far as who's going to be on that school board, and you can just have a cleaner transition.
Right. And certainly, as when I first became a school board member, I thought to myself, why am I driving past Howard? You know, and I stop at Howard, I drop off donations from time to time, they have a pickleball team. But anyway, so, there's a lot of this, I agree, Board Member Campbell is long overdue. It's when you change what has been done traditionally and people are used to that, but then within a year, it becomes the way it's always been done, When graduation venues were changed. I
Right.
point that as an example.
So, in the start of school, with a new high school, with those zones changing anyway, and they're coming from the Bellevue area, and
Right.
so they're pulling from different, I think, start of school year is perfect.
Well, every high school is being rezoned.
Yes, every high school is being rezoned.
So then to our PR team down, you've taken note that we will have a transition on the website at the start of school. To just reflect no more schools specifically, but rather that we all, just our contact information and that we represent all schools.
One team, one mission.
One team, one mission. All right, is there any public comment on this item?
We'll be getting it later.
All right, hearing none, we are gonna move into, let me find my script in my pile of paperwork. I was gonna try to wing that board, but probably best not to. School board meeting reminders. We have a school board meeting scheduled for February 10th, 2026. And additionally, we have a special school board meeting scheduled for February 19th at 7 a.m. You'll be getting notification, but we do have discipline affairs. I believe there's 6. So we will be meeting at 7 a.m. on the 19th, followed by a administrative briefing and work session at 9 a.m. All right, I will open it up to board comments. Ms. Martinez-Young,
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Mr. Attorney Powers.
Nothing more from legal.
All right, okay, thank you. Board Member Thrower.
Oh my gosh, I keep saying that every time we meet, there's so many things that have happened in between that are great. And I know Superintendent Brewer already spoke about the Golden Apple Gala, and it was just such a smashing success. I believe it smashed the record of attendance. It was freezing cold. People still really showed up, and there was just such a beautiful spirit. I think, everyone always enjoys that event, but this event just continues to get better and better. So I really wanted to thank Megan Magamola and her team from the Public Education Foundation for continuing to evolve and elevate that event. Of course, I was thrilled that Hillcrest won the Triple Crown. I think that just exemplifies the level of commitment that everyone has and that we all expect, to each and every student. No matter what they bring to us, we do our best to serve them. So I just think it's a tremendous example for the whole district, and a lot of fun, and it just continues. There was a local organization that were so moved by the gala and they were so thrilled that Zanita Hendry now has the, what is it, a Genesis 90 that she's riding around in? She's still trying to figure out how to drive it, she said, but it drives itself,
Drives
so.
by itself.
You have to work that hard. But these folks from the community shared that they felt it was too bad that the rookie teacher of the year, didn't get more acknowledgement. So the rookie teacher of the year, Ms. Stephanie, was presented with a $5,000 check this morning through Mackenzie's Moment, the Gray family. Just such a beautiful testimony to the memory of their daughter, and just continuing to support. They were quite certain that had their daughter survived, that she would have been a student at Hillcrest eventually. And so it just really touched them incredibly deeply, what the culture is at Hillcrest and how they really serve every child. So, yeah, it was. It's been a very moving couple of weeks, for sure, and so much to celebrate. And I just look forward to all of the continued momentum. I'm glad that we've at least gotten our responses taken care of on the superintendent's contract. Look forward to getting the responses back from, her legal folks. And I also wanted to thank you and your team, Attorney Powers, for the work that you did behind the scenes, so that each board member, I'll speak for myself, I felt very well prepared to have the conversation so that we could be, efficient and get through it timely. So that worked out really well. I had mentioned this once before, but I will just, now that it's looming, I will not be available at all for the February 19th work session, sadly, and that's unusual for me. So I will miss you guys. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Reverend Cummings.
Good morning again, or good afternoon now, barely. Very productive meeting again as well. Thank you, Attorney Powers, for our briefings on the contract, and I think those were very helpful for us being able to go through this the way that we did today in such an efficient manner. A lot of the questions that we had, we got addressed during those briefings, and we knew where we were on certain things. A shout out to the Megan Magamal and to the foundation. Truly, the gala was very extravagant. It was very good, very good. From the opening moment when the young lady came out, and I think that's Principal Pete's daughter, or grandmama, and everybody. So truly, and it was just a wonderful night. Shout out to them. They never cease to amaze me on what they can do and what they are doing, because every year it gets higher and higher. The bar goes higher and higher. So thank you for that. I want to back up a couple of weeks because I didn't get a chance to acknowledge this, but a few weeks ago, and Nancy, you were there, a few of us were over at the grand opening of TLC's extension, or what would we call it, add-on. So that's one of those places in our community that deals with kids' special needs. And I think all of us as board members are welcome over there and do some input or give some input into there, because a lot of the students that leave from Hillcrest end up going to TLC. So shout out to the TLC group as well. Today, we talked about a lot of things, and concerning the superintendent's contract, I'm excited to see what this new chapter is going to be for our superintendent. I think we just cleared some hurdles today, and it was good to see. It was good for the community to see that we don't always agree on everything, because I don't want everybody to think that we all agree on everything, but we don't always disagree on everything either. I think the one thing that we do all agree on is that we want to do what's best for our district, for our school district, and for the students of this school system and the staff. So I know, I'm confident that the people that I work with on this dais and in this administration and in our attorneys and our CFOs and all those folk, I'm confident that we work with some great people who really, really are working to make Marion County Public Schools the premier district in Florida. I believe that. I see it from the bus drivers to the custodians. We have a unique district. And then, and I say that because yesterday I was at College Park for their DARE graduation, and I saw even the people that were not necessarily directly involved with the DARE program, they were there supporting the DARE program, from the custodians, the cafeteria staff, all those other people, that supporting cast that we often don't think about as being a part of the school. So I appreciate that. And a shout out to Dr. Varner and the College Park staff and SRO Woods. It was truly a good opportunity to be over there at College Park for their DARE graduation on yesterday. So I'm glad it's getting warm now.
We'll go outside, because it's.
Yeah, not today.
It's cold again.
Oh,
It's probably cooled off 20 degrees since we've been.
oh, don't say that, don't say that.
Board Member Conrad.
Good afternoon. I want to start off, I'm just going to say a little bit because I don't think I can say it better than what Ms. Thrower said, but our morning at Hillcrest really was amazing, uplifting, sentimental. I think she and I both had tears in our eyes when we left Hillcrest this morning. It was very moving. And rolling it back to the gala on Saturday, if you tried to email Megan anytime towards the end of the week and on, you got an automatic response. You know, they were really geared up and getting everything ready for Saturday. And so it's always so magical and uplifting. And so I gave her a shout, you know, after the gala. She was recovering, and I said, I just wish we could bottle that up so that on the hard days we could rekindle that energy and that enthusiasm, because it really is special, and our district is lucky to have the Public Ed Foundation and their dedication for not just our students, but for our staff. And so just super grateful for the work and the relationships. That word just keeps coming up, the relationships that they have within the community that expand to the reach to all of our schools and extend a helpful arm when special circumstances present themselves. So just wanted to say a shout out for that. I too am super grateful. I feel like we're over the hump now with the superintendent's contract. Really want to say thank you to everyone, Attorney Powers, Dr. James, you all, board. Really, we ran through it very, I feel like, smoothly without too many hiccups. So that was a real blessing to kind of get across our side of the first round finish line with the superintendent's contract. So I too am looking forward to that moving forward. And the last thing I have is I just wanted to share with the board. I spoke with Dr. Brewer about it the other day. One of our last meetings, I asked about the library circulation numbers in correlation with our schools and school grades. As an elementary teacher, that's close to my heart. And when I started looking at the numbers, I know you all received them too, it went out to everyone. Some of those numbers I was disheartened with. So, you know, though we have referendum dollars that support our media specialists, you know, my vision is that we have students going to the library every week, promoting literacy, giving them the opportunity to choose their books and read what they want to read. And so I really, I want to keep an eye on this because we have some schools that their circulation numbers are really, really low. We have some that are really, really high too, so I don't want to just talk about the negative. We have some that are really, really high too. But I really hope that we have, and this was important to Dr. Brewer too, that we have some movement on several of our elementary schools. And one of the questions do we have a media specialist at that school? The number is so low. Do we have a media specialist in there to get those books into the hands of the students, which they so deserve? So, board, I just wanted to share, that's a concern I have. I think Dr. Brewer will be bringing some information, or maybe she'll just email us, you know, what that looks like. But that's an important part of the conversation as we look at moving the district forward. And so that's all I have.
Thank you, Board Member Conrad. Dr. Campbell.
Thank you. So many things have already been said, so I don't want to belabor too much of that. Golden Apple was spectacular as always, thanks to all the team that worked so hard to put that together. And I'm going to say to Ms. DeVilling, because that choir at the end, I honestly thought that they weren't actually singing, that it was just a track. And then I realized I saw how many microphones were on students. It was that good. So kudos to everybody who does a great job with that. I think that was Kevin's 26th year or something being involved. Also, great work on our contract today. We've already talked about all of that. I'll bring up a couple of things that haven't already been discussed. Having the opportunity to serve on an early warning committee, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Whitehouse and what we're doing in that work. Yesterday, we talked a lot about data dashboard, and it really is a cross-section of a couple of different departments, and it's good to have different eyes on things, and talking a bit about strategic plan moving forward and portrait of a graduate and different things like that. And what I noticed, and I think as we get more into the strategic plan from the data that is coming forth out of the Hanover research, so many of the issues that the school district deals with are results of the community and what is happening in the community that's apart from what we actually have control over. So the more we think about strategic plan moving forward as that starts to be developed, I think the more we're able to put in some metrics that really say strong community engagement, that we can't be successful without partners outside of the community that are really helping us in lots of different fronts. The attendance numbers during our deep freeze in Ocala, what I was very disheartened, it's not disappointment as much as it is really my heart hurt. You guys are using that, it's a heartache, it's a heart hurt, that even you could see our more affluent schools had better attendance. And I think, okay, because potentially they were able to drive their child to school that day instead of having them stand out at a bus stop or whatever that looked like. And so it's not that I'm disappointed in families that don't have an alternative. It's that I'm disheartened and my heart hurts for the students who missed school because it was too cold to stand outside. And so there's just a greater conversation about what that looks like. Are there church vans that can help out? Are there, I don't know what the answer is. I'm just, as we get into strategic plan and what those metrics look like, I'm excited for that conversation. So that is all stemming from the early warning committee yesterday. A couple of quick things. FSBA members got 2 different emails in the last, actually today, 2 different times today. So February 18th, there is a webinar open to all FSBA members that is going to be with Scott Ward, the CFO in Lake County, about the third calculation on the FEFP third calc and what that means, because it's obviously putting lots of people into tailspins when it comes to budget. Also on February 19th, which is the day of our work session, we will be having the Crown Regional meeting in Putnam County. That starts at 1 o'clock. So depending on how that work session goes that day, may just get to that Crown Regional meeting late, but the FSBA members got that invitation today if you haven't already RSVP'd for that. And finally, I just had a quick question because it does seem like something has changed, and I noticed it whenever I was doing the board meeting telephonically, and I'll be doing the next board meeting telephonically, so it would be helpful to know. So back in 2023 is when we started the Google Doc for the board script, and that was something that was started whenever I was board chair, and it's something we've been able to continue so that all board members can have access to it and see it as the board meeting is progressing. And so even if something might be in the script that's inaccurate, then we're like, oh, well, going back and forth with what the agenda says, it says this. And so it really has been helpful through the years to have all of us have at least an eye on that from time to time. I requested access to the board meeting. It has been denied. So I'm curious to know what's happened with the Google Drive, because that is kind of a board document. So did we lose Google Drive? Did we lose I don't know. I'm just.
Provide context. We're losing Google in general.
So all
Google is going away, the platform in general, which is a greater conversation. But Dr. Brewer is the sole person who restricted access. And so the concern is multiple people being able to edit a document.
Right, so I requested as a viewer, and I still did not get access.
So I would send.
Try again?
Send an email to Dr. Brewer.
Okay. That answers that, because I was trying, today's work session agenda, script isn't there, and then the board meeting.
But it's all, none of it is in Google anymore anyways. So requesting access to Google is not going to gain you it because it is not in Google. It is now in Microsoft Office.
Okay, and is there a share function that we can all be working off of the same document? Because the reason we moved into Google, and maybe there's another option of where to put it.
Well, Microsoft platform has the same exact
Perfect.
shareability
So then
as
we just
Google.
need to have the ability to have access to what that looks like.
So yes, and I think just Dr. Brewer giving a read-only access to everyone who can't edit it. There's concern about making sure that when edits are being made, because essentially the way of work now is Ms. Martinez Young completes it, she sends it to the superintendent to review, and then it gets shared to the chair. And it's shared to the chair 6 days prior to the meeting, so that there's more than enough time to review. So for instance, yesterday I received the script for next Tuesday. So once it's reviewed by the chair, I don't know why it couldn't be made available to the entire board in a read-only access. Her concern is that there were honestly too many editable hands in the pot, and it's hard from an accountability perspective to make sure who is accountable for any level of error in the script.
Sure, I can completely respect that. I know that after I was no longer chair, I didn't have editable access in the Google Doc. I understood that we were losing some functions of Google, but did not understand we were losing Google Drive as actually, so if that's a part of what we're doing and not having access to Google Drive anymore, I know Google Classroom is going away, but, and everything's been moving. Anyway, the whole purpose of why we started it the way we was so that all of us could see it and not have to make multiple copies of it printed out here, and so we could all follow along. And certainly if you have the ability to follow along whenever you're not present, like this past week and the upcoming week, it's just helpful to be able to see where we are in process.
I will talk to Dr. Brewer about making the script available once, because I've already sent back like my minor corrections and approved it, so she should be able to put it in the folder and then give you all access. That should be easy enough.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. All right, and just looking at the 19th agenda for the draft agenda, we have the interlocal agreement for 80th, which is going to be the roundabouts at Westport, which you may or may not have a ton of context on, but there's going to be all kinds of roundabouts at Westport now and no more lights, and it's a whole thing. It was going to come to the board just as an agenda item, and after some straightforward discussion on my part, we've now made it a work session agenda item because I think the community needs to be very aware of exactly what the county's road work is going to look like and how it will impact the functionality of one of our high school campuses for the better part of 18 months. So item is on there, and then the Wyoming Park instructional calendar, which we've been already sent, is on there. And then there's one other placeholder for just a vague topic, so I don't know if they'll be adding anything, so. Okay, board, I'm gonna pass something down. We had talked about, we have started a video series called Faster Facts, which is recorded ahead of the board meeting, and then obviously is published, assuming that everything we think will be a non-issue is approved. So after I've done the first 3, and so now I reached out to the whole board to ask if who wanted to participate in the recording, essentially with the dates that are left based on agenda calendar invites we have from Ms. Martinez Young. That's what I went off of. This is the rotation. It gives everyone who wants to participate 5. Board, I would just ask if it's possible for you to look at your name and the 5 dates. And if it makes sense to you and you should be able to participate, then I will share the Fast Facts recording calendar invite from the PR team with you. It's recorded at 4 p.m. Yes.
Thank you, and I did receive the email, just hadn't had a chance to respond, and so my response is I am happy to fill in for anyone that can't do whatever date is in their rotation. I just didn't get back to you fast enough, so
I can certainly edit it and add you if you want to be edited and added into it.
whatever works best.
Well,
I think it'd be great if you don't mind, Dr. James, because I think it would be nice, and then the whole board would be represented.
okay, well, I can edit it. So the one thing I need confirmation on right now is, Ms. Conrad, are you available next Tuesday?
I'm not supposed to, I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, that's
Ms.
right.
Thrower can be.
Yes, well, that's what I was going to say that when she offered up. She'll
First
get
one
to
Ms.
go
Thrower can do.
first on
Well, I
the-
was trying to go in district order.
Okay.
I
Either
was
that
trying to
or
go
I
chair,
already
vice
reached-
chair, district order, just
I did
to
reach
have
out to
an order.
Yamali,
within
and
it.
if she wants me to come in earlier, I could also do that. So whatever's at the, is best for everyone.
I think it's going to be really important to respect the structure that's been created because it's been working so far. And I wouldn't want to disrupt kind of the system that's been created so far. Certainly another chair can do it a different way if they want, but while I have control of the way it goes, I think it's important to just maintain that. So, District 1, which is yes, and then, District 3 is Eric. So Eric, are you available at 4 o'clock on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will share the calendar invite with Reverend Cummings for next Tuesday at 4 p.m. And then I will redo the schedule and I will bring it on Tuesday for everyone. And then I'll just need you to confirm that those dates seem to work for your schedule. Okay? Okay. We've done great work today. I'm grateful to have a productive board that can have productive conversation. Like Reverend Cummings said, we don't always agree, but we're able to get to a landing point and get to a point where the majority of us are in agreement and we're able to move forward. I'm looking forward to the stability that finding a permanent superintendent will offer the district, and people feeling comfortable knowing that Dr. Brewer is here to stay for a while. And I do think we'll be able to find some common ground in the things that we've presented in our red line. Golden Apple was amazing, as always. It is a wonderful evening and definitely fills the cup. My husband came for the first time, and it's always fun to watch a non-educator experience the Golden Apple Gala, because he was looking at me at some points and was like, trying to figure out why I needed tissues. And, we're just cry all the time anyways, but it was a moving night, as it always is. So, board, I remember that we do have an off air now, 2 weeks from now at 7 a.m. So Ms. Martinez-Young will get us that calendar invite, and we'll have a board meeting next Tuesday. And with that, just to confirm, Board Member Thrower, Reverend Cummings, and myself will be present in person
For,
next Tuesday.
oh, yes.
Marion County Day, next Wednesday.
Correct. Right? Okay, wonderful. Because obviously we have to have 3 present for a quorum. So, all right, well, thank you. And just to confirm, Board Member Conrad, are you participating telephonically or no? I know that that's a challenge for you.
I will text you. The telephonically is very difficult for me, and so I will probably just discuss with our
Okay,
team and then let you know.
sounds good. And you will be telephonic.
That's
All right, sounds good. Well, with that, and there being no further business, I will adjourn this meeting at 12:28 p.m. Thank you.